You're listening to the Plain Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 236 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, I'm back, and I'm here in the PTUK studio with my co-host Matt Smith.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
Oh, good. Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Is it?
Nice to be back.
Did you miss us last week?
I did miss you last week, guy. You know I always miss you when I'm not here.
I know.
But I will say, it does seem like you two had a very good show last week with your guests.
Oh, it was quite a quiet show, I think, wasn't it, Nev? I mean, we didn't really sort of get up to much.
Yes. Have we actually received the show notes from last week at all?
No, we still haven't.
Anyway, yes, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. He was so waspy, honestly.
Yeah,
The WhatsApps that were going backwards and forwards were...
Having a bit of a mare last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And also joining us from his stately mansion, and it's our king of AV, it's Neville Bounds. Welcome, Nev.
Yes, hello everybody. Good morning to you, wherever you are. And yes, it should be a great show today. Just recovering from the AV Awards on Friday night in London.
And I assume,
my
obviously...
voice is half an octave lower.
Right. It's gone for the Barry White impression, obviously. It's, yes, I assume, obviously, you cleared up, obviously brought home all the trophies.
No, well, we were up for one award with the group that I'm with, but sadly we did not prevail this year.
Oh
but,
dear.
There's always next year.
Of course, that's true, yes. I like your positivity, Nev, that's the answer, yes. Glass half full, not empty, winning.
That's it. And then on Monday of this week just gone, was at the Mercedes F1 facility in Brackley in
I saw that. What were you doing there?
Event with, doing quick recce for an event we're doing with Bose for some of our customers in later in October. So I even got a visitor car pass.
Oh,
as
look
well.
at that!
Wasn't that nice? So that was good. It's a huge place there. Of course, they're all out in Sochi at the moment because there's a bit of a Grand Prix later on today.
Oh, is there? Yeah. Oh, I didn't notice. No.
A lover of the Mercedes, Nev. I thought you were a Ford man.
Yeah.
Well, if they had a F1 team, that would be me. But,
right. Okay.
No,
yes, but they don't. So, in fact, actually,
the engine's F1.
You'll be slightly horrified here, actually, because I was in London visiting a friend yesterday, and we discovered, I think we sent you the picture, Nev, didn't we? We basically found like a Mercedes in the banana colour, which was slightly unnerving.
Yes, that's right,
yes, that was a bit
Yes.
Anyway, very little to do with aviation, this particular conversation. Shall we move on?
I saw that picture yesterday, actually. It made me laugh in the group chat with that picture of the banana car in the car park.
Indeed. Yeah, that was
quite good.
The stuff of dreams. Yeah, indeed.
Anyway, moving on. We do have a very, very special guest.
He's a bit busy at the moment. He's taking a photograph
this week.
Yes, absolutely.
And he is one half of the awesome podcast, the Layovers podcast. So we are going to welcome on the show for his first appearance on the show. Hopefully many more come. It's Paul, and I'm not going to pronounce it. I'm going to ruin his surname, but we're going to try it anyway. It's Paul Papadimitriou.
Well, you said it correctly.
What? Wow, Carlos got pronunciation right. This is a momentous day. We need to write this down. It needs to go in a diary.
Hello, Paul. How are you on this fine morning?
Very good. It is extremely fine morning, actually.
Yeah.
In London, it's actually very sunny right now. How are you guys?
Oh, good.
Yeah, survived
Coffee in
another
hand.
night. Always grateful. As one of my friends always says, it's like, you know, I mean, bless him. He's one of those. Do you remember Adrian? Adrian. Anyway, basically every time you say, "Oh, hello, Adrian. How are you?" and he goes, "Oh, well, you know, every day's a bonus." It's like, "Oh, well, that's nice." Anyway, sorry, I've got off piste again.
Every day's a good day with coffee.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, absolutely. You seem rather sort of obsessed by the mug that I've given you this morning.
I know. I love this mug. Matt gave me this mug this morning. I don't know why.
Yes, it's got the Superman logo on it for those of you listening to the audio
We're going to have to
version.
get some aviation themed mugs in the studio,
right,
I do believe.
Okay, sorry.
But no, welcome, Paul. It's nice to have you on the show, and I'm a fan of the show, as so many people are in the chat room. I think there's a lot of love for the Layovers podcast in the chat room.
Yeah, somebody just said you sound older than you look. Yeah, well, I don't know how I should take that one either. So, For the record, I'm 43, so I mean, like,
Right.
totally middle-aged, so right in the middle, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually, guys, I listened to you, and I just realized the entire setup you have to run this. Holy shit, that's very impressive, actually.
Indeed, it keeps me. There goes the YouTube rating. It's.
Oh, yeah, oops. Yeah. You know what? We used to swear on our show.
Yeah.
Because
I know.
until the day that a father told us, "Hey, my son is listening to your show every single time." We're like, "Oops!" So now we're like, trying to edit everything out. Yeah.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's a good, clean family fun. And if you are offended by what you've just heard, then go and listen to something else. Frankly, bye bye.
Anywho, we are going to welcome into the chat room everyone who's joined us this morning. Loads and loads of names to mention on the chat room. I'm going to bring up the list of everyone in here. We've got Chris Turnbull. Hello, Chris. We've got Evan Shue, Dave Abbey. We have got Matthew Bunting Frame, David Kerr. Hello.
That's the nice thing about, because every now and again we do like a sort of a morning show. It's quite nice actually, because we get a few more
the Australian
of our
listeners
from sort
New
of further
Zealand,
afield, which is nice.
We've got who else? We've got Armando's in the chat room. Hello to you, Armando. We've got Dave Abbey. Hello, Dave. John Jester is in the chat room. Chris Turnbull, Masha's in the chat room. Jeff Braithwaite. There's loads of people in here this morning. Ben, hello. Good morning to you, Ben. We've got Auntie Liz. Auntie Liz is in the chat room. Apparently, she says it's 6 degrees C where she is now.
Oh,
so
blimey.
in Canada, so it's a bit chilly her way.
Yeah.
And I'm just going up to listen. I'm hoping I'm not missing you on. Dave Abbey, Stephen Hayes. Hello to you, Stephen. And I think I haven't. Hopefully, I've missed anyone out on
Probably,
this.
but they'll be terribly.
Oh,
offended.
Mariana. Hello, Mariana. And Nico as well. Nico Riga. Oh, and James Candraw as well.
Right, very good.
So there we go. So loads of people in the chat room today to join us for the show. So we've got a news-packed show this week. Loads of stuff to get through in the news. It's been quite a... I think we can all agree it's been quite a newsworthy week this week.
Oh, is it?
In the aviation
I've obviously
scene.
missed something. Yeah.
He's been under a stone all week,
Yeah.
or under a bus.
Yeah.
One of the two.
I'm not sure how to take that. Thanks.
I know, but we've got a couple of awesome segments coming up later on the show from Farnborough, which a few more interviews from Farnborough, as brought to us by the awesome Nev with his amazing camera. We've got some military news as well this week, and we've obviously got Paul on the show, so we're going to have a good chat with Paul about the show that he does, the awesome podcast, and also he's going to probably drop us some things about Alex that we should all kind of know.
Yeah. Are you sitting here waiting for spoilers? Are you essentially? Yeah, absolutely.
He's rubbing his hands.
Yeah.
Yes,
indeed.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and so I suppose we were to start the show, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with a rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the new UK. So if you're ready, Matt.
I am indeed, yeah.
If you're ready, Nev.
Oh, yes.
And if you're ready, Paul.
I am.
Let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story is on the BT.com website.
I beg your pardon?
I know, BT. as in British Telecom.
No, I know what it is.
I didn't realise they're still going.
I didn't realise they did aviation-related content.
I didn't realise they're still going. I thought BT was a thing of the past these days.
He says, sat here in a studio using BT Internet to stream to the...
okay.
Anyway, but yes, carry on.
So, the headline...
I'm sorry, I should apologise, really. I'm obviously in a bit of a weird mood this morning, so I apologise in advance. I think
control his
sleep
mics
deprivation.
either.
No, absolutely. I've taken that away from him. I have total control.
So
carry on.
The story is anyway. It's a story that broke earlier on this week. Headline: Airline now says that one is missing after the Pacific Lagoon plane crash. So it was earlier thought that all 47 passengers and crew had safely evacuated the sinking aircraft. One man is missing after a plane crashed in the Pacific Lagoon in Micronesia, according to the airline operating the flight. Earlier saying that all 47 passengers and crew were evacuated safely. The sinking aircraft, Air Niugini, I think is how it's pronounced, said in a press release that as of Saturday afternoon, yesterday, it was unable to account for a male passenger. The airline said it was working with local authorities and hospitals and investigators to find the man. The airline did not immediately offer any other details about the passenger, such as his age or nationality. Local boats helped rescue other passengers and crew after the plane hit the water while trying to land at the Chuuk Island airport on Friday. Officials earlier said that 7 people have been taken to hospital. The airline said 6 passengers remained in hospital on Saturday, and all of them were in a stable condition. This coffee's got something in it, I think. The cause of the crash and the exact sequence of events remains unclear. The airlines and the US Navy both said the plane landed in the lagoon short of the runway. Some witnesses thought the aircraft overshot the runway. Oh. Passenger Bill James said the plane came in very low, and he said that he thought that we'd landed hard until he looked out and saw a hole in the side of the aircraft and water was rushing in, he said. And I thought, well, this is not the way it's supposed to have happened. Or that's obviously not.
Not normal landing.
Not normal landing.
Yeah, right. Okay.
He said that the flight attendants were panicking and yelling, and he suffered a minor head injury. He was really impressed with the locals, who immediately started coming out on small boats, he said in an interview with a missionary in Chuuk, Matthew Coulson, who was posted online and shared with the Associated Press. The US Navy said sailors working nearby on improving a wharf also helped the rescue by using an inflatable boat to shuttle people ashore before the plane sank in around 100 feet or 30 metres of water. Air Niugini, or Air New Guinea, God, that's a difficult one to pronounce, that one, is the national airline of Papua New Guinea and has operated since 1973. Data from the Aviation Safety Network indicates 111 people have died in crashes of Papa November Golf registered airlines in the past 2 decades, but none involved this particular airline. Now, obviously, with this, I saw this on the news when this broke, and this kind of brought back memories of the Hudson. Remember when Sully landed on the Hudson River, albeit that was in an Airbus A320, whereas this was a 737-800.
Right.
But it did float. It actually floated for a while before this actually started to sink. But the pictures there, you can see. I mean, the good thing is, I suppose, that this landed in calm waters near the shore. So obviously, help was pretty much on hand. Nev, what do you think about this?
It looked like the water. Well, I don't know how deep the water was, but clearly it wasn't too critical from that point of view. And I think that the, as you say, it's very calm as well. So, landing on water. There's lots of things that can go wrong with these situations very quickly. But seems as though, although clearly one person has lost their life, which is sad, but clearly the whole thing was handled reasonably well by the sounds of things.
So, Paul, is this an airline you've heard of?
No, I'm going to be cheeky. It gives a new meaning to wet lease.
Right.
Sorry for that one. Look, it's the panicking thing for me was the thing that this shows that it wasn't really going that well, because apparently when the U.S. Navy approached the boat, they reported that the crew was shouting, and that doesn't seem to be very calm as an evacuation. But I don't know. They said somebody is dead or somebody is missing.
I think they're missing at the moment. Yeah, they're missing.
So could it? Yeah, I don't know. It's a sad sight. I mean, it's again, sorry for that one. It's a beautiful sight because you rarely see a plane in a lagoon, because the water is very, very clear. I think, you know what, I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard in that region there are potential microbursts, so that could be an explanation of what actually landed short. Not only the pilot might have made a mistake, but also simply the microburst could have downed the plane. There was no time to react.
Yeah, but they were, like I said, they were lucky that they had all the boats there to help them.
They were very close to the shore, right?
Yeah, it's good. So moving on to the next story, and Matt, it's it's obviously a Ryanair story for you.
Indeed. Yeah, so it's on the Irish Sun, which is always good news. And basically, this is the moment a Ryanair pilot noticed a man running onto the tarmac at Dublin Airport yesterday. So Ryanair staff and airport police stopped Patrick Cahoe, 23, at the apron while he allegedly chased and tried to flag down a flight bound for Amsterdam. LaGuardia were called after a pilot alerted an air traffic controller at around 7 a.m. The pilot said, "I think we have to call the authorities here. There is a passenger who is trying to get inside the airplane." I think you have to call the security right now. The air traffic controller then said the police have been contacted and they are on their way. And the pilot responded, "Yeah, they are already here, luckily." The air traffic controller added, "Be careful. There are reports of a man near the Ryanair on your right running around, so have an eye out." Yeah, right. I do love a direct translation. So Cahoe was restrained and held until Gardier arrived and brought him to Ballymun Station. He was charged with criminal damage and later brought to appear before a judge at Dublin District Court. He is accused of criminal damage to a magnetic door lock at Gate 106 at Dublin Airport. It's a very sort of short and sweet story.
Actually, listen to the audio from this.
What's surprising for me is that someone wants to get on a Ryanair.
Now look, there's no need for that, is there? Come on, play nice. But hey, he's going to Amsterdam. You can't blame him for that. There's lots of nice things to do there. Yeah, absolutely. Even if you did miss, I assume. I mean, the only thing is, it doesn't sort of say essentially in this. I assume he was supposed to be on that flight anyway, and then he missed. Whether they obviously wouldn't let him through because he'd missed the boarding window or something. That's the only thing.
There are other ways of doing this, rather than just jumping out the door.
Well, he was obviously very adamant that he was going to make that flight. I mean, it's I
know the 737-800 does have its own air stairs, so they could stop and open the door and put the stairs. Yeah, you know that, Matt. Honestly, how long have you been doing this show? Yeah,
it's got its own air stairs.
Yeah, you should know this. Yeah, they've got their own air stairs, so they could stop and open the door and let the guy in. But
so you open the door and then just stairs magically appear?
Yes, they do, Matt. Yes. Watch the videos, plenty on YouTube.
Every single one that I've ever been on, they've taken something up to it.
Yeah, well, they do it at the airports, which have the infrastructure to have the what they call them, the tunnel things. I forget now.
I'm going to get emails
coffee's got
now,
something
aren't
in.
I? Yeah.
But when I listen to the audio, because they've got the ATC audio on this particular story, and it is on various websites and that. But the pilot does seem kind of not sort of say shocked. When he listened to his voice, it's almost as if the pilot was kind of expecting this to happen, really.
Right.
Someone's going to run out and try to get on the aircraft.
Okay.
There's a guy here trying to get on.
Yeah. Okay.
Send the police. Thank you very much.
I don't know. This might play. It might not. I'm not sure. I'll give it a try. Hang on, because we have got it in front of me, but I'm not sure if it will play. So give me a second.
I think we have to call the authorities here. There's a passenger that is trying to get inside the airplane. I think we have to call the security right now. Roger.
There's no audio coming out.
There was no audio?
I can hear it.
Roger, let me know when you're happy to continue.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you might not have been able to hear it there, but it was interesting audio. It's always good to hear the audio from the ATC, but it's one of those things. When this is not the first time this has happened, where someone has kind of run out onto the apron.
You remember, guys, in Malaga? I think it was in January. There was this guy who tried also for a Ryanair flight. He actually jumped from a disconnected bridge to try to catch his Ryanair flight as well.
Yeah, wow. I remember seeing that one. And there wasn't the one where the guy was out on he just popped the overwing exit and kind of got out.
Oh, yeah. Because they were sat on the tarmac too long and he wasn't happy about it. Yeah, absolutely. It's you do feel a bit sorry for them because it always seems to be one of the low-cost airlines where these sort of things are happening, don't you? I mean,
yeah, you never see anyone doing this with BA, Nev.
No. That's it.
It's definitely not.
Well, and also I think a lot of it is because they've paid so much for their damn ticket. They're actually there really early to make sure they don't miss it because it's just like Sorry, I'm being controversial again.
Oh
Nev.
dear.
Apologies.
Anyway, moving on to the next story now. Nev, obviously this is a BA story for you, and it's quite a posh story. This one, I think, Nev.
It is, and can you imagine? We're now branching out into the world of fashion on PTUK
what?
because yes, Oswald Boateng is going to design the new BA uniforms, and BA has confirmed that the British designer Oswald Boateng (OBE) will create new designs for its 32,000 uniform-wearing staff. Rumours of new uniforms to coincide with the carrier's centenary celebrations in 2019 were discussed on the Business Traveller Forum earlier this year. And BA has now confirmed that Boateng will follow in the line of designers, including Paul Costello, Roland Klein, Bacart Weatherall, Hardy Amis and Julian MacDonald in designing the new threads. In a release, BA said that Boateng will be working closely with the airline's employees throughout the development process, from shadowing them to understand their roles and how the uniforms need to perform, to design, testing and final delivery. Commenting on the news, Alex Cruz, BA's chairman and CEO, said that our uniforms have been an iconic symbol of our brand throughout our 100-year history, and our partnership with Oswald will take us forward to the next chapter in our journey. At a time when we're investing for customers, uniforms are a visual representation of investment in our people, and we want them to feel proud when they wear the new uniform. Noting that BA employs around 45,000 people, but only 32,000 of these wear uniforms, from flight crew and cabin crew to customer service agents, special services, ramp operators, baggage handlers, cargo employees and engineers. And a BA sister carrier, Aer Lingus, has also recently announced plans for new uniforms to be created by Irish fashion designer Louise Kennedy as part of a refresh which will see a new brand identity launched next year. Well, that's all good, isn't it? And they've got to do these refreshes, obviously, from time to time. But can you imagine the cost of doing this for so many people with all the design costs?
32,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask both of you this, actually, Nev and Paul, because obviously you both travel a lot on airlines and stuff, especially with BA, Nev. But how important is the look of the cabin crew? Nev, for you, obviously, how important is the look of cabin crew?
I mean, really, we shouldn't be too bothered about it, because as long as the thing gets us from A to B, in safety and comfort, that's okay. But actually, I think it is important, the look and feel of how people are with you. They've got to look professional, and so I think the uniform does play quite a big part of it, certainly.
And Paul, obviously you travel on many different airlines across the globe, and you've got a friend there with you.
Yeah, my cat has just decided to jump on my lap, right? I think she's hungry. It's fine, don't worry. I agree. I totally agree. I think it's not the most important right now. I'd like BA to invest a little bit more in IT, for instance, but it actually does matter. If only for their brand recognition. You want to know when you meet someone that he or she is from BA, and BA's current uniforms are a bit tired, so why not? That's you while they're doing it. It's I think it's not the most important, but having feeling you're part of a brand when you're entering an aircraft, whether that's Ryanair, EasyJet, BA, or Cathay Pacific, is actually quite important. Yeah, and they look pretty cool. I hope they will look pretty modern.
Yeah,
BA is a great airline. I really want them to succeed, no matter all the bad stories we keep hearing about them.
Mainly peddled by us, it has to be said.
No, I think there's quite a few. There's a few airlines that do have rather dull uniforms, I've found over the years. But but no, I mean most of it. I mean even some of the smaller airlines and stuff do try when it comes to having their staff looking presentable on aircraft. So
I've actually seen the best one. I was at Charles de Gaulle maybe like a month ago, and I've seen the uniform of an airline called Air Austral. They do like a lot of the French islands or whatever. They look like uniforms for the 1950s, and it's pretty cool, actually. You know what? It's at the end of the day, I'd rather have something that stands out a little bit. The worst for me is Austrian Airlines. I don't know if you've guessed, they're all in red, like literally, everything red, from the shoes to the it's horrible. Really horrible.
Wow. Can you remember? Cast your mind back, like quite a few years now, back to the 70s and 80s, to remember the airline Court Line.
By name, I remember it.
Yeah.
I was flying back then.
Yeah, they were their aircraft. They had a few different aircraft in their fleets. One of which is the TriStar, funnily enough.
Oh, dear.
But their colours of their aircraft, they had orange, peach coloured, yellow, and all kind of really psychedelic colours. And I remember seeing a photo on one of the pages of the crew, and they had a similar kind of, peachy, psychedelic, orangey coloured uniforms. Just wonder how well they'd go down today. But no, moving on to the next story, and this is for you, Paul, and it's quite a celebrating story for One Power, for a few passengers anyway.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's Allegiant, that's a low-cost airlines in the US, and that's WTIHR.com that reports that they were celebrating their 40th millionth passenger on a Florida route. So obviously that passenger was celebrated. But then at the gate of that specific flight, the crew announced that every single person on that flight would get a refund for their flight. And I found that pretty cool. And you see the video of people, of course, rejoicing. And this one lady like jumps up and down all the time. It's a cool story. You keep hearing, especially about, there's the video. You keep hearing like these very almost like sad stories. We just heard about people running on, tarmacs to catch a flight with Ryanair, or, rude passengers, or people being deplaned by United every single day, or, they also kill dogs, by the way. And so when you hear these kind of stories, it's really nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's always nice to see it. And I think with Allegiant, because Allegiant have had their problems in the past. Oh, yeah. And I think for the airline to do something like this is kind of it's nice. It's one of those feel good stories, I think, for especially if you're a passenger, you paid money for a flight, and then to have that reimbursed for you as kind of free flights.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's good going,
thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Perhaps who shot the video on this? Was it a wasp or something?
Certainly wasn't on your camera, Nev.
No.
That's for sure. No. Perhaps this is something that BA needs to do, Nev, just once, or every now and again.
Yeah, because they're quite a conservative airline, really, aren't they? They don't really do sort of big high fives and whooping and that sort of stuff. But, maybe they should.
That's terribly un-British. I mean, come on, you can't do stuff. You're British Airways. You can't. It's all got to be very sensible and sort of, suits and jackets and
waistcoats,
smoking jackets and waistcoats. Not no. Okay, fair enough.
Do they do the bow ties with the BA stuff uniform? I can't remember now. Do they do the bow ties or ties?
I haven't seen them. No,
I don't know. Okay, moving on to the next story, and this one is it's kind of a story that we cover every now and again on the show, and this one is on the iflscience.com website, and for those of you who travel frequently, Paul, Nev, the safety briefings and cards. It's the headline on his story is most people can't remember even the most basic airline safety briefings. Can you? So when it comes to life-saving airplane safety information, an alarming number of people aren't able to remember even the most basic tidbits, according to a study published in the International Journal of Aerospace Psychology. Remember that photo? Yes, I do. Showing nearly every person aboard a Southwest Airlines emergency landing plane wearing their oxygen masks the wrong way. Yes, I do remember that. Researchers were interested in seeing whether people were more likely to remember important safety information depending on how it was delivered. They divided a group of 162 university students into 5 groups, one with no briefing and 4 that received the legally required safety briefing through either audio, video, audio or live demo as well, plus video and live demo, accounting for people who fly more than others. Overall, the results were bad. Native English speakers remembered 49%, while non-native English speakers recalled just 27%, regardless of how they received the safety information. These results highlight the limitations associated with the way many airlines present and deliver their pre-flight safety briefing. Wrote the authors. IFL Science spoke with Jeff DeTemple, a pilot with nearly 30 years commercial experience, who said that people should always pay close attention because all aircraft are different. Very true. By far, participants were most familiar with the workings of an oxygen mask. Most knew that their mask would appear in the case of an emergency and that they should only help others after having secured their own mask first. However, just 1/3 knew how to secure their mask in place and over the mouth and nose. Mouth and nose. And with the strap around the head, or how to operate it and give it a tug to start the flow of oxygen. Even fewer knew how oxygen was distributed, which differs from crew and passengers. In the main cabin, oxygen is chemically generated and stored in each overhead compartment in case the aircraft fills with smoke or for obviously a decompression. Pilots have special pressurized systems that stores oxygen in tanks near the cockpit. Now obviously there's some pictures here with the story, with the various pictures showing, which I think most of us have seen on board. Well, I always read the card, and I've flown on 101 different aircraft and different various types and stuff many times. But I always pay attention. I always make a point of saying to my wife Gemma, to always watch the safety briefing and always make a note of where your nearest exit are. But it's an important part of flying. Don't we all agree, guys?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that although I don't read the card every time, because I tend to fly on similar types of aircraft most of the time, I always have a look to see where the exit is. And sometimes, obviously, it's directly behind you as well. That would be the nearest one. And I work out the various weights of people that are in front of me. So if I do have to get out, how much, what's the word I'm looking for? Keenness I'm going to require to climb over these people.
To get out of the way.
To get out first.
Yeah, quite. Yes, absolutely. Yes, every man for themselves, essentially. Yeah.
Yes. No, and that's that's where a lot of delays can happen, really, isn't it? But no, I watch every single safety briefing, and I think people should, because that's what it's all about. It's our safety.
Yeah, I mean, I know we do sort of get a bit fed up with these videos, don't we? That they keep doing, where they're sort of sort of like with the celebrity ones, which I know BA is quite famous for doing, and stuff like that. But they do make, if you haven't seen them before, they do make you watch them. I don't,
whether you remember what's on them.
Yeah,
they do make you watch them.
Whether you're just essentially remembering the famous person that appeared in it rather than the actual content or not, I guess we're still a bit on the fence of that. I mean, how do you feel about them, Paul?
It's a difficult balance, right? Because if you have very dull videos, people will not watch them. If you I like the BA ones, but if they're too entertaining, are you just not focusing on?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's also a thing. I mean, some of them tell you, okay, where's that was in the article, where's the actual life vest? And on some aircraft, there's like, depending where you're seated, there's like 20 different ways you can reach it, and they don't actually show you. They just say it might be under your seat, on the next seat, above your seat, on on the overhead bin, or you have to run for your life on your own. It's a difficult one. I prefer, actually, I think I pay more attention when the crew is actually doing it, which doesn't scale easily, which obviously it's a large aircraft, a wide body. Yeah. But I think people pay more attention because it's a human being doing it, and especially on short haul, you have these tiny screens that get tinier and tinier, and you don't see anything, and you don't really care. The thing, though, for us, and we're not the right public, right? Because we are aware of this. We will point out, Alex, actually, my co-host on Layovers, will, because I've flown with him, will actually tell me, and he tells that no matter who's the passenger next to him, he will point out to the nearest exit, because he says, whatever, I want the next passenger not to block me, because we usually both sit in the window. But it's, at the end of the day, it's a tough one, but that's where the critical, we can go back to the first story about this Air New Guinea thing. Yeah. The critical bit is really the staff, because when a plane crashes, water crashes, land crash, whatever that is, they will be the ones actually giving the right directives for you to kind of jolt your memory, and that time you have to be aware. And the last bit I'll say is that we're also very lucky that we speak English, either native or completely, because I fly in some remote parts of the world, and you cannot do the announcement in 27 languages. At the end of the day, and some people will miss stuff. And if you fly only twice a year, either you are very cognizant and you will be actually listening because you're so stressed out that you might miss something, or you might just don't realize that it's important. It's a tough one, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, people, it seems that all the latest incidents, people were evacuated under the 90-second limit, so it seems to be working.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Ben just pointed out something quite good in the chat room. Actually, Ben in the chat room said that, that obviously people noticing things, but not if they've got their portable device on and are not paying attention.
I mean, you're not supposed to have them on, are you? But I guess unless they physically check every single person sat on their seat, there are a lot of people sat there literally with their headphones in, sort of stuck in listening, aren't they?
Yeah.
I remember flying back from Oman a few years back with Emirates, and remember seeing. Actually, no, it was BA. Sorry, it was BA, and we're on the Dreamliner of the Dash 9. I remember sitting there, and there's a guy in front of us, a few seats in front of us, and he was actually on Skyping someone while the safety demo was being done, and the crew. I mean, they told him about 6,000 times to turn his thing off, but he was adamant that he was going to Skype this person literally until we started to move, to push back to taxi and stuff. But I mean, Skyping though.
I mean, there's two things of that. Obviously, the distraction and not watching the video, yada yada. But also the other part of me is thinking, I thought that sort of thing was not allowed in Oman. So how was he Skyping in the first place?
I know.
I think the crew also doesn't want to become a police, right? It's
no,
they have already so much stuff to deal with, and as Ben said, sometimes even Emirates, which has for me by far, I think the best safety video as far as it tells exactly where the stuff is. It shows how you should act in first, how you should act in business, how you should act in economy. It tells you everything. So it's very well done. But the crew cannot just, even Emirates has reduced the staff on some of their routes now. So they cannot do everything. So if you have 400 passengers and 2 are listening and 1 is Skyping, what the hell are you going to do? Yeah. It's like if you're having a hard time already, and that's maybe not the primary concern. Like some airlines, and BA does that, I don't remember, but KLM, which I've flown recently to Taipei, they will keep telling you, please remove your headphones for the entire duration of the taxiing and the takeoffs and everything. And they will actually Dutch people can be very imposing, and they will actually police that.
Indeed, mind you, as I say, a friend of the show, he quite often used to say, actually used to find the Italians were quite often quite challenging, especially with their bags. And God help you if you touch them. But anyway,
actually, one of our senior cabin crew in the chat room, Owen, has said that nothing pisses him off more when people don't pay attention to the safety video.
Yes, or the demo even. I mean, that's the worst thing.
Demo,
if they're not even paying attention to the demo.
But you know what, the demo, sorry to intro, I know you want to move on, guys, but the demo, the personal demo, and I know it doesn't scale, Ben had a good point on the chat, but the fact that I will find it rude not to see someone, whereas I would be maybe less caring about looking at the video. And I'm not saying I'm not, because I'm paying attention, but again, we're not the public here. I'm going to just watch it because I find them usually entertaining. But because if it's someone, you might be a bit more rude by not looking. I know it's very cultural, but I will actually take a look at what they do, even though I fly all the freaking time and I pretty much know. But, and one thing you have to do, guys, if you've never done it, I don't think BA sadly proposes it anymore. You can do these trainings, these courses when you go, and they make you in a fake plane,
right?
And they make you sit, and then they switch off the lights and say, okay, find the emergency exits. And if you haven't counted the number of seats backwards or upwards compared to where you're seated, honestly, there's no way to find the emergency exits. It's really scary. Do you find for the first time, like, oh, how would I? So now I not only see where the emergency exit is, but I will count the number of rows that I will have to touch with my hand to reach that exit.
Okay.
Very good, very good pearls of wisdom there, Paul.
That's, for a nervous flyer, that's making me feel great. Thanks for that.
Anyway, moving on. Next story, Matt, is one for you on the independent.co.uk.
Surprise, surprise. So we're back with Ryanair, and of course the other big story this week has unfortunately been involving them, and it's Ryanair strike. 250 flights cancelled in walkout. So Ryanair cancelled 250 flights, affecting around about 40,000 passengers. That's a frightening number, isn't it? Ahead of a coordinated one-day strike on Friday the 28th of September by pilots and cabin crew in Spain, Portugal, Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy and Germany. Various unions called for their members to stage a 24-hour walkout from 12 a.m. GMT on Friday the 28th of September. Although pay is a factor, the majority of unions seem to be lobbying most strongly for a transition from workers being employed on Irish contracts and subject to Irish legislation to their own country country's labour laws. It's sort of a bit of a tricky one. Hang on, sorry. There's a lot of tweets that have all been. What's going on here? Sorry, this is a slightly odd story. But anyway, you sort of roughly get the gist. So we'll go with the latest pieces. So the key points on Friday, the 28th of September, Ryanair cancelled 250 flights affecting 40,000 passengers. An extra 7,000 passengers were advised to consider rebooking. Europe's largest airline has accused competitor airline employees of stirring up the unions. That's not a sensible or wise move, is it? So Ryanair has accused rival airlines of stirring up the unions responsible for Friday's industrial action. In a statement, the beleaguered low-cost airline said, in Spain, a Norwegian cabin crew member in Alicante is driving the strike. Wow, this really is a bit, yes. In Portugal, a TAP cabin crew is calling for strikes without the support of our Portuguese cabin crew. And in Italy, where Ryanair yesterday signed a CLA agreement with the... what does CLA mean? Anybody know? Anyway, they signed a CLA agreement with the three main cabin crew unions. This threatened strike has been called by a tiny union which has no recognition or support amongst our Italian cabin crew. So I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see just how long this is going to continue. And
they've not had a good summer. I think it's safe to say they've not had a great summer when it comes to.
Have you flown? I'm guessing you have flown Ryanair before, Paul.
Oh yeah, it's really not my favorite. I'm a huge fan of EasyJet. Ryanair is off and on, but so CLA is the collective labor agreement.
Right. Thank you. Yes. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, Ryanair can't get a break, right? But I mean, come on, it's the almost like the allegory of our current situation for any kind of jobs, 0 hours contracts and, gig economy. And so I to be honest, I don't know. The reason I don't like to fly them is first I find the 737s snugger. I'd rather have a 320 on short haul because it's slightly more space in the cabin in general. So the seats will be actually slightly bigger, but it's also because I don't know, for some reason they're always late and they always have ungodly delays, and also I live south of London, southwest, which Gatwick is closer, so EasyJet will be my favorite. Going to Stansted for me, it takes forever, so there's also simply that practical issue. But Ryanair, I don't know, guys, what you think about this, but also that Ryanair is very good at. I don't know if you follow them on Twitter. They're very good at every single day, basically pointing out at all the ATCs in Europe that are doing such a bad job, and that explains why they're so late.
Yes, there is that. Yes,
you don't get this with BA, do you, Nev? Huh?
Well, no, but to be fair to Ryanair, which I'm not normally, but
has everyone sat down for this? Hang on, brace yourselves.
I mean, they're doing so many sectors per day with very tight turnaround. So the slightest delay of any sort, whether it's crew, flight crew, technical, ground problems, whatever, the knock-on effect is just enormous. And if that happens at the beginning of the day, say for a 6 o'clock flight, then with their schedules, that you can never recover that. So it just gets worse.
The domino effect.
Add in a bit of weather and a bit of some other bits and pieces, and you've had it really.
Yeah.
So,
John,
BA, don't do those 25-minute turnarounds.
Those turnarounds, no, indeed. John Jester is actually saying in the chat room here, he said their labour setup is shocking. They need to be forced to employ their crew, not contract them. But I mean, the only thing I would sort of say against that is, I mean, I can understand why they do it, because essentially they're almost appearing. They're almost appearing essentially as sort of self-employed, I guess, in that respect. But my understanding is that's actually quite a commonplace practice within the industry. Is that correct? I don't know, Paul. You might know more about that than me.
For low cost, there, yes. I mean, there's a reason why Norwegian, for instance, installed one of its bases in Ireland, just for tax reasons and for that as well. Yeah. They couldn't have that kind of contract, I believe, in Norway itself. So, I mean, that's the EU. Nothing here to talk about against the EU, but you're allowed to place your base pretty much anywhere you want. Yeah. And some countries have more lax labor laws than others. But you see, even if you have that, at the end of the day, crew and pilots will tend to unionize, because if Ryanair is the biggest airline in Europe, there's no way they were not going to unionize. So as much as Ryanair wants to fight this, at the end of the day, they probably will have, and they've already signed some union agreements.
There are some agreements in place, aren't there?
So I think it's just the fact that they're just delaying the impossible. The inescapable. It will be there. They will have some type of labor contracts, but the 0 hours contracts are not going away either. That's the economy we're living in. There will be, at least for the crew, the people we see less, whether the turning around crews and stuff, that will continue. We live in a world of outsourcing, and maybe it's bad. I'm not in favor of that, but I mean, this is just reality. And when you need to fight with Norwegian and all Wizz Air and all these guys are fighting, and then that explains the problem that BA or Air France have. Is like, how can they reduce their cost? I mean, you cannot fight 0 hours contracts like this and have legacy contracts. And I don't know. It's a tough one. It's honestly a tough one. On a human level, I don't like it, but on a business level, I get it.
Yeah, you can see why they're using that particular model. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But strangely, that's why I don't know exactly the setup, because I've not looked into it, the setup of EasyJet. But it feels to me that the crew at EasyJet is always happier. I don't know if that's the correct word.
I think actually, and also, I mean, I know several people who have recently flown with Jet 2, and they've literally said, like, they're literally they're like. And this sounds really strange, but they're like normal cabin crew. You know, the cabin crew that you remember, who you know, when you got on a BA flight or whatever. I mean, and it's, I mean, presumably, Nev, that's been your own experience. Like with BA, again, you're used to a certain level of cheeriness, I suppose, almost. I mean, you don't get grumpy cabin crew.
Yeah, there is, and you've got to remember that, you know, they're dealing with all sorts of things, you know, during the day, and they are very long days. You know, they're very early starts, late finishes. So you know, they're all human beings at the end of the day.
I would add though that on BA, my particular experience is that I find the short haul crew probably the best in Europe, because they always fine and fun, and they have the hardest because they have these kind of back and forth type of routes. The long haul ones, for me, they're average. I mean, you always have the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 really good crew that stand out, but on general, and I know that BA uses different contracts as well, so there are multiple levels. So some people have been there for a long time and they're protected, and some newer people have not. So it's also a complex matter. It's not fun. I've actually, just an anecdote, I've met maybe a year ago a crew from, I think it was American Airlines, United, I can't remember. They do Chicago to Heathrow, and they were telling me they're not giving any food. They have to fight for the scraps of the passengers, and that was accepted because after 9/11 plus the financial crises, no matter the unions, they had to save the airlines, so they accepted in the negotiation not to have any. I mean, come on, no food for a flight that is 7 to 8 hours.
That doesn't seem very fair, does it? Almost.
No.
Yeah, it's a long old flight. Is that going to last very long? I mean, surely people are going to sort of complain with their feet essentially and go elsewhere.
Yeah.
So the next story, Nev, it's one for you about the world's 5-star airlines.
Yeah, it's on the travel9.com.au website, and it says that the world's plushest airlines have been honoured at this year's Apex Awards, with passengers rating their flight experience on a 5-star scale. You might want to snag a seat on one of these airlines the next time you embark on a long haul. So just 25 of 500 carriers worldwide has been granted a 5-star status, which is up from just 14 last year. And some of the winners are LATAM Airlines, the only South American airline to pick up a 5-star rating. LATAM was recognized for its high level of service and will soon be revamping 2/3 of its global fleet with a $400 million investment. So it's up and up for this plush airline. And for Qantas, it's the only Aussie airline to make the list. The national carrier proves again and again it can play with the big boys, consistently pushing boundaries with their in-flight offerings with such innovations as anti-jet lag meals and cabins. Qatar Airways, that's surely the fastest growing airline on the planet. More recently, this plush UAE carrier has been turning heads with its posh new business class offering, the Q Suite, with critics praising it as the closest thing to first class with business prices. It's no wonder that they were awarded 5 stars by passengers. And number 5 out of these is the Asiana Airlines, and the South Korean carrier, one of 2 major ones, including Korean Air, has a long history of impeccable service, and this year's no different, with the carrier holding on to its 5-star status. and Emirates, as well as leaving with 5 stars. The UAE airline was recognised with the Best Entertainment Gong for the 2nd year running, following continuous investment in its in-flight entertainment system. Aeroflot, Russian's national carrier, has nabbed 5-star status for the 2nd year running. The airline was also awarded the best seat comfort in Europe by Apex, so they must be doing something right. Air Canada, Canada's largest domestic and international airline, which serves more than 220 airports on 6 continents, is also the nation's only 5-star rated airline. Air New Zealand, New Zealand's highly awarded national carrier, walked away with a cool 5 stars plus an award for Best Original Audio. Best in-flight connectivity innovation, following the launch of its in-flight Wi-Fi product, and unsurprisingly, Best Safety Video. ANA, All Nippon Airways, a Japanese carrier, was recognized for its high quality standards and was awarded 5 stars. American Airlines, the world's largest airline, collected 5 stars, as well as announcing a new food partnership with Zoe's Kitchen and a new headset partnership with Bang & Olufsen following the exit of Bose. Cathay Pacific, Hong Kong's flag carrier, has also ranked highly amongst the world's airlines, often nabbing a top 5 spot, so it was no surprise to see them as a 5-star rating for 2019. China Airlines, often praised for their high level of service, they also picked up 5 stars, and Delta Airlines was also recognised for its superior services. Etihad, off the back of reports that the airline will be merging with UAE rivals Emirates, Etihad proved that it can hold its own with a 5-star rating. Eva Air, the Taiwanese carrier, consistently received 5-star certifications, and this year was no different. Finnair renewed its business class service concept, debuted the new menu partnership with Top Chefs, and rejigged its long-haul economy class meal offerings, so it's no wonder that they were awarded a 5-star rating. Garuda Indonesia, their flag carrier, also held on to a 5-star rating this year. And Japan Airlines, known locally as Nikko, the Japanese carrier, was also recognized for its high standards with 5 stars. Same with Korean Air as well. They also nabbed 5 stars. And Lufthansa too, the German powerhouse, was also the first European airline to score a Skytrax 5-star certification, and it seems they've never looked back, picking up 5 stars at Apex. Singapore Airlines, same story there, consistently ranking among the best airlines in the world, and same with Swiss Airlines too. Switzerland's national carrier did them proud by maintaining 5 stars for 2019. Turkish Airlines are doing very well too. They're operating services to 302 destinations around the world, and Turkey's slick carrier has been busy carrying out a number of projects to boost its product quality, and clearly it's paid off. And Virgin Atlantic, consistently recognized for its excellent passengers, awarded this international carrier 5 stars. And finally, Austrian Airlines, their national carriers, also picked up 5 stars. But sadly, no BA.
No BA in the list. Yeah. So you read through all
Maybe
of that.
they awarded them 4.5 stars, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah,
They were nearly there.
Yeah,
Any of these stand out for you, Paul? Because obviously you've travelled globally with in most classes on most airlines.
Yeah, so I've flown 23 out of these 26 actually,
Wow.
and I've flown these 23. I've tried business class on all these things, 23. So yeah, that's the problem with these kind of lists. I don't know what's the methodology behind these Apex awards, but first of all, the experience you have in business class, obviously in first, is really not the same than economy, and it can be, for instance, like, let's say. Emirates economy is pretty good, I think. There's kind of good leg room. The seats are not too snug, and of course, in front is also pretty cool. The 380 is probably better than the 777. But then you have other airlines when the front will be awesome, and then you have the back when it's actually super snug. And so, who actually votes for these awards? I'm not sure, because if you're only frequent flyers and you have status and you have all the good experience, and I'm one of them, then obviously I will tell you, the best airline in the world, Singapore and Cathay Pacific, but then if you are in the back, it might be different. So I would almost want these kind of awards to have like a separate section for how do you feel in the back and how do you feel in the front, because my experience, I'm lucky. I fly 80% of my time in business class, either because I'm upgraded, because my clients pay for it. So I'm privileged, and I don't have the same experience as the vast majority of the people. And the other thing I will say of these awards is that the consistency of an airline is also a question for me, because we mentioned Turkish. I love Turkish. The 777 product is really good. But then you fly their older aircraft, and they have a totally different experience. They have so many different aircraft and so many different routes that if you keep flying just Heathrow to Istanbul, and there's 2 routes per day with the 777, I think, then, this is awesome. And then, but if you want to fly a different time, because it's also slightly cheaper, because they know it's other aircraft, then you have not the same experience. And they have, for instance, 26 different IFEs running at the same times on their fleet, and I find the 777 one of the best ever, and the other ones are just crap. Sorry for my part of my French here. So it's really hard with these awards things to decide. I think clearly Singapore amazing, Cathay amazing. Emirates, good. I would give them 4 out of 5. Qatar is another very good example, actually. The Q Suite is one of the best things in the world ever, but I mean, it's only retrofitted on a few 777s, and we're always lucky if you live from London and you fly business class, you will always have the latest product. But then you've tried to fly a 330 and a 340 from Qatar Airways in business class, and the seats are like snug as... I mean, it's crazy. I couldn't sleep well. I slept better on United and KLM, which for me are like very average airlines. They're good, but they're average and not like the top class. So I pretty much agree with the list, but I would not be ranking. And at least it's better than Skytrax, which seems to be sometimes a bit pay to play. Airlines tell, we're a 5-star airline. Like, how is Lufthansa a 5-star airline? Their business class is clearly not up there, but they're already a 5-star airline, and they only got that because they promised that they will have a new business class by 2020. How does that work?
Or somebody paid some money, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, it's an interesting. Wow, what's some? Well, that's some amazing experiences.
That's what we should do on the show next, guys. Is that we should have we should have a PTUK listener poll. Obviously, because for all our listeners who travel, what airline they think has the best economy.
A best economy?
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Perhaps we should do that. Perhaps we should do that.
Okay, all right. We'll do that in time for Christmas.
We'll think of that one, for Christmas, yeah. But no, that was interesting.
So also, sorry to interrupt you. I know, because this is my favorite part of this. That's what we talk about in layovers, a lot of passenger experience. But imagine, I don't know about you guys, but if you have status on BA, and even if you fly economy, you'll have the very front, the bulkhead seat in front of the economy class. So you'll have a slightly better, leg room, and your experience is going to be better. You might even have access to the lounge. So you'll say, it's pretty good. But then if you fly twice a year, whichever airline you fly, that's the actual reality. Those are the kind of people we should ask, not us, basically.
So, I mean, is that your experience, Nev, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think with because I fly a lot of BA, certainly if I need some extra points, I'm flying business class on the short haul sectors, but normally I'd fly economy. But obviously the prices are quite eye-watering as well. And occasionally you do get a special offer just with 3 or 4 days to go, but mostly it's pretty expensive. And I am quite open about it. I am prepared to pay well over the odds for some of my flying. My company only pays for me to go economy, so if I want to do anything different, it's all down to me. But I don't mind doing it because I prefer the ability to use the lounge even on an economy ticket. But I have to say that all of the airlines have got the same problems at the moment, in that the travelling public are demanding lower and lower fares, so they've got to shave more and more off of what they're offering very often. So it is pretty difficult.
May I add also one more point? Sorry, guys, I'm very passionate about it.
Carry on.
The one point I didn't mention, and I think it's sort of evident, is that the crew. You could have a seat that is average, and I finally, for instance, I don't think that BA's product are hard products, so the seat is that competitive. But as I said earlier, the short haul crew for me has always been a standout. So I will appreciate and I will qualify them as a very good airline because they have a great crew. And then you have other airlines that might offer you all the plush things you can imagine, but if they treat you in a very average manner, the experience will not stand out, and then you'll say, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and also
people important.
I mean, going back to sort of the thing is of course, where if like me, you're on very sort of average wages and all that kind of thing. If it wasn't for things like the low cost model, I wouldn't be able to do any flying, regardless of experience. And I know, I mean, I've said this quite a lot in the last few weeks, so apologies for repeating. But if it wasn't for, and I'll use Ryanair as an example because that's my own personal experience. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to have the amazing trip to Rome that I had, sort of 2 or 3, a couple of months back. That was absolutely amazing. You get to go with one of your best mates, have a really nice time, and it was only like £60 return each. I mean, it's if it wasn't for that, I mean, if money wasn't an object, of course you would fly business class wherever it was that you went, or even first, even just to sort of say you've done it. But it's I think you're right. Maybe we do need to sort of look into doing a poll to see genuinely amongst our listeners what the best experience there is. Maybe we'll do one of those Twitter poll things. We'll have to sort of
think of something.
Think of that, and just get a genuine sort of listener poll as to what the best economy experience is. Because I think we may be quite surprised as to which airlines come out top.
I think as a whole, airlines have improved their economy packages now really over the last sort of 5 or 6 years.
Well, you say that, but then I do get very nervous. I mean, again, like Ryanair, and I think EasyJet have been a little bit guilty of this of late, where their seat pitch has changed, and so I know it's my fault because I'm a big guy, but that can have a huge impact. I mean, what the flight coming back from New York, I ended up having to move seat because it was so. I literally couldn't get my knees behind the seat. That was,
guys, I'm tall. I'm 6'5", so 196, whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, I'm lucky to have status. So usually snag the emergency exit early because I have early access to the the inventory. But I believe actually that in Europe, before the US, but it could be the other, we'll have at some point a regulation about seat pitch, because aircraft are supposed to be evacuated in less than 90 seconds in case of an emergency. And honestly, if they keep reducing the size of those seats, I'm not entirely sure you can actually achieve it. And most of those current regulations are based on assumptions. We think we can make it happen. What will actually happen? They should have real-life test situations. And there's a Flyer Rights, is a U.S. organization's Kendall. She actually lives in Berlin. She talks about that on Twitter all the time. She's one of these defendants. We cannot go like too low. It's not only for our comfort. It's simply like, imagine if you have to escape from that seat super fast because it's an emergency, and if you're completely stuck, how do you do it? I mean, it's just. I agree with the point that the economy's package in general is okay. I find it, average, but I mean, you get what you pay for. I think it's better. When my parents, so both my parents passed away now, but I have all the old family albums, and I have they would actually keep the ticket in the family every time.
Oh wow! Yeah.
That's cool.
And I look at the prices of going from. I was born and raised in Geneva, and my mother was from Finland. So from Geneva to Helsinki, and I think it was via Frankfurt, if I remember correctly. And this is at least 10 times the price. And we're talking like early 80s, end of the 70s. It's at least 10 times the price. I mean, thank God my father was a doctor. He could do that once a year. Usually our holidays were taking the car and driving down to Greece, right? Because there was no EasyJet to go down to Greece, right? And I fully agree with you. I mean, for me, it's wonderful that anybody can actually fly nowadays. And I'd rather have that than have 2 centimeters more of width. I mean, I'll suffer through an hour and a half to go somewhere in Europe.
You
but
can
I
put
don't
up with most things
too much. Still, of course.
Indeed, this is it's a debate that will go on and on. I mean, we'll never.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good food for thought. It's good food for thought.
Yeah, it's as I say, and it has whatever you think of the low cost model. I mean, it has made aviation affordable even to people like me.
So from one passenger experience then, Paul, on to another for the next story, which is yours, because this is the kind of after passenger experience.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the story of these airport baggage handlers that were caught red-handed throwing luggage around at Hong Kong airport, which, by the way, is one of the best airports in the world, if not the best one. That is the story comes from the South China Morning Post and scmp.com. Sorry. I think a passenger was in this flight. You know, like it happens. You might have seen that, and you can see the people actually, the handlers putting the baggage either in or out the aircraft, and he filmed that on the Facebook Live because they were like mishandling, like really rough, the actual suitcases and cardboard boxes. There's even, I think, in the video, there's a cardboard box with it says "fragile" on it, and it don't give a hoot about that. They're just like throwing it around, and the person was like a bit, shocked, I guess. You can see the video running right now. Shocked, I guess, in how it was actually handled. That reminds me of the story. Was it like Manchester also probably last week, where there were also a video from also a passenger on the side of the aircraft was taking, I think it was Swissport baggage handlers also roughing it up. You know what? My take on this is that it happens, it's sad, and it should be called out, and thank God. I mean, I think the airline, because it's an outsourced, back to the debate about outsourcing everything in the airline industry. It's an outsourced a company that handles, and they will look into it and probably follow up on it because it's not acceptable. But for me, the biggest point of contention I have is that if airlines force us to put stuff in the hold because they don't want us to take stuff with ourselves, I never check luggages if I can avoid it, but they force it by they keep reducing the size of what you can put in the overhead bin. The least they could do is making sure that they don't, trash our stuff when it's being loaded and
exactly.
unloaded.
Well, as you say, and as we saw in that video there, as I say, a box clearly labelled fragile, and it's literally just been thrown around like it was just anything. I mean, it's. But as you say, again, this is a good airport. So I mean, this is if the good airports are doing it, then we've got no hope at, say, Stansted, have we? I mean, it's just like, it's just, I don't know. I suppose, again, it's all about, the contractors who are being employed to do it and whether they give a monkeys or not. But you'd think, given the fact that this is a big thing for a lot of people, and these videos always
especially
go viral whenever exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're hidden in the terminal or whatever, and the general public can't see it,
kick them around anyway.
But no, obviously I'm not advocating that, but I'm just sort of saying, let's be a little commonsensical about it. People do look out of the windows. It's just
and everybody has a mobile phone right now. It is. Everything will be filmed.
Yeah,
there's no incident that is left behind anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, and I believe. I don't know how it is at Stansted. I think at Heathrow they have, they have CCTVs for the handlers.
Yeah.
They will monitor the handlers as well. So that's why you don't get a lot of stories about people having stuff stolen from. It doesn't happen, I think, a lot in the UK, but you have sometimes. An airline tells you cannot bring too much with you on board, and then you might. Do you remember when there was this limitation on flights from the Middle East coming back to the UK or the US? You couldn't have anything but a mobile phone. So if you had a laptop, you were supposed to put it in the hold. I mean, not only will get trash around, but the people got their stuff stolen as well. So I don't know.
This is why whenever I go on holiday and I take my two good cameras, the two Canon DSLRs I take, they always stay with me in cabin baggage, and
because of that, you see now again going back to the low cost model where it's making things difficult for the cabin crew because they physically cannot get everything in the overhead bins because people don't want to put their luggage in the hold because they know it's not going to be treated very well. It really is sort of it's a really difficult situation, isn't it?
I think at the end of the day, what we should, because the poor crew have to deal with that. Yeah. And maybe the person at check-in, the gate, they don't want to deal with that either. I think that the responsibility should be should be at security. I've seen that in a Japanese airport when the security belt when you put your stuff had a shape that was a limit of the size of anything you can put in it. So if your luggage by then was already too big, they will say, you have to go back to check-in and check that one in. So that limits the work for the poor crew that have to deal with. And again, it's a balance. You're right. Airlines tell you, you have to pay like, I don't know, 50 quid to put your stuff in the hole, whereas your ticket might cost like 30. You're like, hell no, I'm going to keep the stuff with me.
Yeah.
But then you tend to overstuff yours. Maybe you are all season travelers. I travel super light. But sometimes I see, let's be honest as well, I see people going for 1 week of holidays. And maybe, do they need an outfit for every Instagram picture? Because they have like 5
yes, they
massive
do.
Bounds
pictures.
issue to Mrs. Bounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Actually, this is what I suppose is one of the things you never worry about, Nev, because you've got one of the most indestructible cases in the world. Your Pele case.
The Pele case.
Right.
What a great... I mean, it's quite cheap, but man, that is a great piece of kit. I tend to use it normally for just carrying my my gear around, but it's really, really good, very substantial.
Yeah, I bet. Do you use a special case, Paul, to when you're flying?
No, I mean, Travel Pro is my brand to go to because it's just very sturdy. I had the same one for like 10 years. It's been like in the water. He fell in the water in the Philippines. He fell, was in the sand, and he's still there. I'm like you. I have a camera that always looking around with me. That'll be in my backpack. Never leaves me. So even if suddenly I've been asked at the gate to check my luggage, I will make sure that there's nothing fragile. So no special. I don't know what kind of gear you have, Nev, to being using a Pele case, because they look very sturdy, but I don't think I have anything that we require to put stuff like this. What do you carry with you?
Camera. The fancy camera.
Well, it's mainly lots of video and audio gear, but it's mainly the accessories and the bits and pieces. My main camera, we're off to Gibraltar in November to do some filming there, so I'll be carrying that with me. I certainly won't be checking that in. For all the other bits and pieces, because you can never have enough gear, can you? That's what.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
So I always take far more than I actually need.
And Nev likes to always go. No, whenever he goes anywhere, he has to bring his fabulous muff with him. There's no two ways about it. It's those are the strict rules.
Got to have the muff.
Yeah,
and you've never got enough cables or too many cables. No.
I mean, when we went over to, where was it? I think when we went over to Pittsburgh, and we'd literally brought every single cable that both me, Carlos, and Nev ever owned, and we still had to go and buy some more.
Yes.
Yeah. But
we got there in the end.
We did, indeed. Yes. Okay.
I think with all the gear I took over to Pittsburgh with the 2 suitcases, I probably really should have done a carnet for it because of all the stuff. So I had got stopped.
Yeah. That could have been a challenging
Where did you actually buy this stuff, Mr. Bounds?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's not stolen, I promise. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the next, moving on, next story is on the uk.businessinsider.com, and it's a story especially for listener Brian Coleman over at the Airplane Geeks, because this is all regarding the awesome United Airlines, who are under fire after a flight attendant reportedly told a mother her baby wasn't allowed to cry for more than 5 minutes.
Wow.
So United... I know. You couldn't write this, could you? So United Airlines is under fire after a flight attendant reportedly told the passenger that her baby wasn't allowed to cry for more than 5 minutes on a flight. According to Fox affiliate KTVU, Krupa Patel Bala was flying on United Airlines Flight 870 from Sydney to San Francisco with her husband and their 8-month-old baby on Monday, September the 24th. After takeoff, while sitting in their business class seats, their young child started to cry. It was then that the flight attendant reportedly approached her and told her it was absolutely unacceptable for the baby to cry. Bala documented the entire incident on her Facebook page, writing that the flight attendant took her back into economy class and, after offering a lecture on parenting, told her that babies were not allowed to cry for more than 5 minutes, and that it really stressed out the crew. Bala wrote that the flight attendant told her apparently it's part of the rule book that babies are not allowed to cry for more than 5 minutes. And in a statement to Business Insider, United Airlines said that we've been in touch with our customer via social media, and United representatives met the family upon arrival to apologise and offer a refund and make clear that the experience she relayed doesn't reflect our commitment to serving our customers, including our youngest customers. United Airlines' statement also added that young families were welcome on our flights, including in business class, and we are continuing to review the incident internally, and the flight attendant is being held out of service pending an investigation. Bala eventually reposted on her Facebook page a message detailing her appreciation for how the airline handled her complaint in writing. From what I understand United is handling the situation and ensuring that no one else has ever or is ever going to have an experience like ours where a flight attendant makes up her own rules.
Yeah.
It's an interesting rule, I will say. Mr. Matt, you're not allowed to get comfortable in your seat for 10 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
I think it's more that it's the objection to the crying
the
baby, isn't it?
crying.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We'd all rather there not be a crying baby next to us, but of course, I mean, this poor little tyke basically has no idea what's going on. Their ears must be absolutely killing them because they're developing and all this kind of thing. I mean, the poor little one has got no idea what's going on. You can't say stuff like that. I mean, surely anybody with a modicum of human decency will be able to see that it's basically a child that's in distress.
Also, you can imagine the United PR department. They go, "Oh, not again!" We've had so much trouble over the last 12 months.
Yes.
Abusing passengers. Oh dear.
Yeah, I'd rather, and again, the story does sort of rather indicate that the member of staff involved was sort of held back for corrective training. It's just like
Poor old United.
I know. It's just like, but you do worry sometimes that some people just haven't got the common sense that they were born with. I mean, these are people. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's it is my idea of hell. I'm not going to lie. If there is a screaming child next to me, but at the same time, you just sort of think, I mean, as long as the parent is making some kind of effort and not basically ignoring them, you just think, well, they're doing everything they can. What can you do?
I mean, come on. I mean, that story makes me fume. And I've had also like the stories of a baby. I mean, first of all, I think Chris said it in the chat. Thank God for noise cancelling headphones.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah.
But even with that, of course, when you have a baby just next to you, but any other. I mean, come on. Let's. Maybe you said it right. Human decency and United are not compatible. I don't know.
No.
That seems to be having a lot of issues. But I mean. And that's what makes me the most angry about that story, besides the common sense and the human decency they should have, is that attendant clearly made up the rule. There's no rule about 5 minutes. There's no rule about business class. You have to be thrown back to economy as it's like what. I just and it was like and it was look at what she says. I think was he or she? I think I'm sure. I think so. She says, well, it will disturb the crew. I mean, okay, so you're taking that on you. So the crew will be stressed out. That's your job.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't get it. And of course, poor United. But I think I'm certain. There's a cultural problem in that company. The cultural, the corporate culture has a massive issue. Otherwise, we wouldn't see repeatedly them killing a dog and throwing out a passenger and now, asking for BBs to be removed from business class because they have a 5 minutes limit. There's a massive problem at this company, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right there, aren't you? There's no two ways about that. It's the whole thing's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
A little bit of a mess, yeah. A little bit of a mess.
Indeed, yeah.
So next story, moving on, is one for you, Matt.
Is it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the story of... sorry. There we go. Busy pressing multiple buttons. So this is on the Telegraph, and the headline is "Mesmerising video shows the crowded skies above London's airports during the busiest summer on record." So a rise in the number of low-cost flights using Luton and Stansted airports has helped push the skies above London to capacity and seen the country's airspace experience its busiest ever summer. Some 736,800 planes entered UK airspace over the course of June, July and August this year, according to air traffic controller provider NATS, 5,683 more than the previous record set in 2017, and marking 6 consecutive years of growth. NATS released the video above showing 24 hours of aircraft movements above London to highlight the pressure being placed on the capital's airspace. It said that traffic into Luton and Stansted had grown 30% in the last 4 years, and that demand now outstrips capacity at peak times of the day. It is congestion in the skies in and around airports that leads to overwhelmed schedules and flight delays for passengers. At the beginning of the month, Ryanair, which operates out of Stansted, accused NATS of blatant discrimination over the rate of delays at the Essex airport compared to that that of Heathrow, which it said received special treatment. Nats denied the accusation. It has been an incredibly busy summer, and our teams have done a fantastic job managing what has been basically unprecedented levels of air traffic, said Nats Operation Director Juliet Kennedy. It's been particularly pleasing to have done so without seeing the severity of capacity issues that have existed elsewhere in Europe. Nats said that this summer it handled, Nats said this summer it handled, which can mean departing and arriving aircraft as well as those passing over the UK to and from North America, a quarter of all European air traffic, and said that its delay performance was markedly better than anywhere else on the continent. Figures from the IATA, which represents the world's airlines this summer, showed that delays more than doubled at airports across Europe, with 133% more delayed minutes in the first half of 2018 than the same period last year. Nats had previously warned that more and more passengers will find their flights delayed unless the government invest heavily in updating the UK's airspace. In 2016, Nats said that the number of delay minutes at UK airports could rise from 90,000 a year to 4 million by 2030.
It's quite surprising. We were lucky enough, obviously, me, you and Nev, to go up to Heathrow and the control tower. We've been up a few times now and have a tour and see just how busy London Heathrow is in regards to air traffic and ground operations and stuff. But when you look at the map, that's the little video, there's a short video on this story that shows the amount of air traffic between Gatwick, Heathrow, Luton and Stansted. It's absolutely incredible when you look at the amount of aircraft that are holding, landing, taking off, or transiting across the airspace, from Europe to the US, and it's just you do not when you look up in the sky now, you don't see all this kind of going on.
Absolutely crazy, isn't it?
It's incredible, yeah.
It is incredible. And it is really amazing that there aren't the delays. There aren't more delays essentially off the back of it.
It's a great little video though. I like that.
It is, yeah.
Mesmerizing.
It is a bit, isn't it? Yes, it's just like, wow, look at all these routes. Crazy stuff. So if you want to have a look at that video, take yourself to thetelegraph.co.uk/travel/London-video-crowded-skies-Nats, and I will make sure that's in the show notes for everybody to have a look.
So the next story is for you, Nev, and obviously it is a big birthday today.
It is. It's actually 50 years to the day since the world got its first glimpse of the 747, and which was rolled out of the factory in Everett, Washington, which was built to produce the biggest aircraft ever. And ever since, people have not stopped gawking at the iconic humped-back aircraft whose stately lines resemble those of a cruise ship. While the first test flight aircraft, Romeo Alpha 001, was more than double the size of Boeing's next largest commercial jet at the time. It was brought into life from drawings in just 2.5 years by a team led by Joe Sutter, Boeing's fiery-tempered chief engineer. Its design defied the wishes of launch customer Pan Am, and almost bankrupt Boeing, in fact, by producing this aircraft. But the 747 shrank the globe, and it introduced concepts and technologies that forever changed long-distance travel, from twin aisles to in-flight entertainment. And Boeing went on to sell 1,568 of these aircraft as it was redesigned and updated over the decades. While twin-engine jets like the 777 and later the Airbus A350 have mostly replaced jumbos on long-distance passenger routes, air freight haulers are still buying a cargo version of the 747 whose hinge nose flips open. And crowds of people gathered to see the 747 roll out of the factory for the first time, whilst Boeing says that some 50,000 people had a hand in bringing it to life, from construction workers, engineers and mechanics to secretaries and administrators. So costly was the project that Joe Sutter had at one point been ordered to fire 1,000 engineers to save money, but he refused, instead demanding that Boeing hire 800 more. He later wrote that he was certain Boeing was going to fire him for his defiance. Not only did he keep his job, but he also got the extra manpower that he wanted. The aircraft was launched with a handshake agreement between the CEOs of Boeing and Pan Am in anticipation of a surge in passenger traffic and increasingly crowded skies. Jack Waddell, Boeing's then chief test pilot, helmed the first flight on February the 9th, 1969, and it was a sight to behold. The fuselage of the airplane was 225 feet long, and the tail was 6 stories high. The cargo hold had room for 3,400 pieces of baggage and could be unloaded in 7 minutes, according to the plane maker. The total wing area was larger than a baseball court, whilst the entire global navigation system weighed less than a modern laptop computer. I'm sure Matt's putting some pictures up on the screen at the moment of this wonderful aircraft. But it's an absolute classic, and it definitely did change the way aviation is thought about now. And I'm very pleased that BA are continuing with their 747 fleet. I think they're phasing them out in 2024, something like that now. But it's still a great aircraft to fly, and I love flying them normally across the North Atlantic when I'm going to the US.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad I got the chance to at least fly on the 747.
Yeah. Personally, I can't wait until the 757 has been totally destroyed.
Come on, that kick on the takeoff is amazing.
Yeah,
True, but he tried to kill me while we were in the air.
True.
So I didn't, there's something wrong with the air conditioning system on the one we were in, and I was quite poorly by the time I got to Pittsburgh. But anyway, that's just me personally.
No, it's good to see. 50 years old. It's done well. The 74. I think.
Have you guys flown the 748? The latest version?
No, not with Lufthansa.
No.
They've got.
I've flown it on Lufthansa and I've flown it on Korean Air as well. It's amazing. It's fun because you can see also we know 4 engines don't sell well anymore, but you can feel that it's an upgrade, an iteration, because it doesn't have the quietness of a 380 or a 350, so it's hard for them to compete with that model. I love it. I love the noise. I made on purpose what was the last one? I think Thai Airways. I was on the front, just on the nose, because when the gear comes up, like you could feel the entire freaking nose moving. There's a huge noise. As an AV geek, I love this, right? But you can understand why it's not. But it's still amazing. And one redeeming quality about United, because I keep criticizing them, I have it in front of me so you guys can see it, is that they had produced these amenity kits.
I've got one of those.
Especially for the 747. Because now they retired of 747, they gave it actually a lot of celebration in the US, and they had produced this limited series. I think it's still running. I'm not sure if you fly business class with United. You can find these very nice boxes, all 747. You have like the eye shades that are with 747 branded. You have socks 747 branded. That's really cool, actually. So one thing United does well is that. I
haven't opened mine. I've kept mine sealed.
I have another one that I've opened actually.
Wow!
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be given one by Brian Coleman. He donated one to me as a gift, which is very kind of him. But no, it's awesome. It's unfortunate that the 380. I saw a story earlier on in the week that there was an ex-Singapore Airlines A380 which has been parked up and is in the process of being dismantled for parts.
That's great for parts.
Parts out, and
very sad.
That's a 380, which is
besides Emirates, nobody actually really relies on it. BA has a few. There's always rumors that they want to buy more, but now they're just extending their 747 line as long as they can. And the 350 is such a cool airplane. The 777X will probably also be a very potent aircraft. With the difference of a passenger between that and a 380 is, besides Emirates, honestly, I don't see it. Sadly. You could fly it. I think was it on the summer? You could fly it with a Norwegian from Gatwick to JFK. They had this relatively high fly one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we saw it at Farnborough, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. So the last story in the commercial news segment is for you, Paul. All about Lufthansa.
Oh yeah, well, I'm a Star Alliance Gold member, so why not? They just ordered $3 billion worth of Airbus aircraft. I was about to say no surprise there. Lufthansa and Airbus is a love story. This is a story carried by BusinessTraveler.com. The Lufthansa Group actually is buying how many does it say here, like 24 A320 Neos, along with also a few A321 Neos. You already have more than 100 of these in order from Airbus. A few of them are in service, actually. I've flown the 320 Neo. I think the first time was with Lufthansa for me. And these orders will be delivered between 2023 and 2024. It's just another sign that Lufthansa relies heavily on Airbus. And when they say group, it means that Swiss will also get one. They say a few of those will get to Swiss. I am Swiss. I'm always very happy to fly them also. Although I prefer that the 220. We'll get to that story later when we talk about layovers. And so I'm not surprised here. Lufthansa and Airbus have a very strong history, European, and they're doubling up. They're doubling their bets, and it's I think it's good. I mean, the 320 is like the 737. These are super reliable aircrafts. The only downside for me is that it seems that everything I fly in Europe is always a 320, and I sometimes want something else.
Wow.
No, I haven't had a chance to fly on the Neo yet. I've seen the Neo up and close, but not had a chance to yet fly on the Neo.
There's not much difference, actually. Unless, the trick for those, I'm sure you guys know, but for those listening who might not know, when you enter an Airbus, the door is open, look at the side of the door. There's a little plaque, metallic plaque, and the last line is actually the entry of service. So you will see that if it's a plane from 2018, so chances are it's a Neo. Interestingly, the Neo adds 2 more seats at the very back, at least for the Lufthansa layout, at the very back. So the very, very, very last seats before the lavatory, there are 2 seats. These seats, guys, are the most snug and the most narrow you can even imagine, because it's really, they reduce, which is a trend as well nowadays, they reduce the size of the lavatory to gain, again, more footprint for seats. And I remember entering the aircraft and I said, "Oh, that's my first time." I tell that to the crew, and the crew tells me, "I hope you're not sitting in the last row." And I look at him, "Why?" I said, "Yeah, because you're tall. These are the horrible seats." So even them, they knew that. So guys, if you ever fly Lufthansa, never take these seats.
Yeah, fair point. Definitely the way forward.
There we go. Yeah. You heard it here first.
Yeah, piece of advice.
I
Absolutely.
know. So that is where we bring the commercial news segment to a close. Coming up next, we're going to hand things over to Nev to introduce the next segment.
Yes, well, Farnborough, of course, doesn't it seem such a long time ago now?
Like months.
And we had some great weather there as well. So we thought we'd play out a few more of the interviews that we did there. And very good they are too, I must say. So Carlos, first of all, started interviewing Mascha and then pilot Pip. And then later on, we went into the Boeing Exhibition Centre where Captain Al grabbed somebody and forced him to be interviewed by Carlos. And that was
under duress.
Nice young chap called Harry, who was very, very game, I must say. So we really appreciate that. But first of all, we have a chat with Mascha.
So the sun is out, and look who's joined us. It's Mascha. Hello, Mascha. How are you?
Hi. Very nice to see you, and really nice to be here.
Great. Well, it's nice to see we've got the English summer here for you still.
I know, it's been amazing. I've been here for like 3 days now, and it's just sunny. Like it doesn't let up. Like this big yellow ball in the sky, it just keeps appearing every day. It's amazing.
Well, welcome to Farnborough, Mascha. It's nice to see you here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be back.
Oh, good. And we have got a bit of shock news for Nev as to the airline that you flew across here with.
Yes.
Who was that?
I didn't do my usual KLM or maybe Ryanair. I decided to splash out and fly with British Airways.
That's definitely got the thumbs up from Nev. But you also flew into one of the more interesting airports here in the UK.
One of the reasons that I specifically picked the flight that I did is that it flew from Schiphol to London City Airport, and I've never flown into London City, but I've heard that it is a really interesting approach, and it really lived up to it. It was awesome.
So you had a good seat? You had a window seat?
Yeah, I had a window seat, of course. I was flying on an Embraer 190, which is one of my favorite aircraft to fly on as a passenger. And, if you fly into London City, you go right over the city centre, you see all the highlights, you got the best view in the world, and then you turn around and you go over it all again. and then you land right into the city, and within 20 minutes you're on the train. It's easy as that. It's awesome.
So, Mascha, give us a quick passenger experience then, because obviously we've got Nev here. So, come on, the BA, the Embraer experience.
Well, like I said, I love the Embraer. As a passenger, I think it's just awesome. It's it's the closest I've come to flying business class is to fly on an Embraer. I've been on the 140, the 170, the 190. KLM flies them. BA flies them, of course. I've flown them on HOP, the French airline. And it's just so nice. They're small, they're cute. You got like loads of leg room, and the surfaces was the surface was fine. It was like an awesome.
You got
experience.
looked after.
Yeah.
Did you mention that you knew Nev?
I didn't this time. Maybe on the way back, because I'm flying BA back as well. So.
That could get you the first class treatment.
Well, there's not really a first class on an Embraer, but I could try.
Well, you might get the jump seat. That would be even better.
Oh yeah, if I could manage that, sure.
So, Mascha, well, obviously we're here at Farnborough. What are you looking forward to today?
Well, I've only just got here, literally I'm just off the shuttle bus, and I ran into you guys right away. So I haven't even looked at the program yet. I didn't even know. I've seen some airplanes already flying in and out, but we're in front of this massive A380. That's the only thing I've seen so far. So I have no idea yet.
Well, Mascha, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the show today, we look forward to having some fun.
I'm sure we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we've been joined by podcast royalty, Pilot Pip.
Oh.
Yes. Welcome.
Morning.
How are you?
Morning. Yeah, very well, Carlos. Thanks. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
It's nice to see you're sporting the lovely pink polo shirt.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I think I'm masculine enough to peel off pink.
Well, you're a pilot.
Pink pilot.
Exactly.
Pink pilot.
Pink pilot Pip. Exactly. So how are things with you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks.
Yeah.
Very well indeed.
Good night's sleep?
Very nice at the Holiday Inn. Just literally a 5-minute walk from the airfield here. So yeah, very good indeed.
So you didn't fly in then?
No. Hopefully you saw some pictures yesterday on Twitter that Steph and I flew in the Pippa 28. We did an overhead pass of Farnborough yesterday afternoon, which is great of Farnborough Air Traffic Control actually to let us come through. I had to do a little bit of name dropping. Thank you to our friend at in Air Traffic Control for that. But that was great. So we had a nice little fly around, and Steph did most of the flying actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the girl knows how to fly an aeroplane. What can I say?
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to today, Pip?
Well, I must be honest.
Meeting all
yeah,
us,
well,
obviously.
Apart from these people over there, I haven't really seen the programme. I'm hoping to go and have a word with Embraer today and make a few constructive criticisms of my new steed. See if they can improve a few things. But I don't know, just have a look at some of the jets. I rather like this beastie up here behind me, the 380. I can see some nice biz jets. One just, what's that, a Falcon 7X, I think, just taxiing out to take off there.
No Phantom 300s here then?
I don't know, actually. Owen said there might be one, so we'll go and have a look, and you can all have a good little laugh at that.
Excellent. So how are things with the show, Pip? Obviously the Plane Sector
excellent.
podcast.
I'm still pumping them out one a week like clockwork, as you know. There'll be another one soon. I'm hoping that Al and I can sit down this weekend sometime and do something at least.
And actually, on the note of flying, how's the flying going, Pip? Obviously with the Phenom.
Yeah, pretty well. We're very busy at the moment. We've hit our super crazy season now with the schools breaking up yesterday. So that marks the start of really busy. It's been busy anyway, but now we're uber busy. Lots of flights down to the Med and Greece and all over. So generally 4 flights every single day, maximum duty hours. But that's the way I like it, actually.
I suppose the question we've got to ask is, are the Hawkers no more?
No, we still have a small handful of them left. Out of the original, I think I can say this, out of the original 50-something that we had, we've got about 9 left, but they'll be gone in the not too distant future. I do see them around every so often and wipe away a little tear.
Have you got a collage at home with
I
pictures?
do, my little sort of worship corner to the Hawker.
So how's the family?
Very well, they'll be here tomorrow. In fact, later on this evening, they'll be at the meet-up tonight at the pub. They'll come down. We went to Riyadh, took the lad to Riyadh last weekend. had a good time there, and yeah,
Excellent.
looking forward to it as well.
Well, nice to speak to you, Pip.
Yeah, you as well.
Hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, I will, and I hope you guys have fun as well.
I'm sure we will.
Excellent. Thank
Excellent. Okay, so we're in the Boeing Exhibition Centre, and I've been joined by Harry, who's here at the show. And Harry, welcome on to the show.
Thank you.
So Harry, what's the aviation passion with you then? What do you like here about Farnborough?
Well, just in general, I live in the local area, so it's something that I follow in terms of the air show anyway. But it's the first time I'm actually on site, so just keen to see all the different companies and obviously the flying display, which is it's going to be good. But yeah, just sort of the idea of flying and the sort of air traffic control is something that's always interested me anyway, since a very young age. So yeah, I'm just keen to learn more, basically.
Ah, sounds good. So possibly then in the future you'd like to look at something within the aviation industry.
Definitely. I'm still quite young, so
younger than us.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. But yeah, just come in to explore and just have a look around and go from there, really. But yeah.
And does your other half share the same?
Well, obviously, as you can tell, she's a bit shy, so she's not on camera. But yeah, she's not so much, but she's still keen on coming to see different things and just try different things out. So yeah.
So you've only just got here, but what are the kind of things that you're looking for today? I mean, to see. I mean, we've got the A350-1000 just over there. Are there any aircraft that you're really looking forward to seeing?
I mean, particularly one that comes back a lot is the F-16, the jet, which is a favourite among many. But yeah, it's quite a nice one to see. And then obviously the Red Arrows as well. So they're quite good to see as well. But yeah, just seeing different things. I quite like the history behind it as well. So obviously the old warplanes and stuff like that. That's quite interesting.
So would you say you're more interested in military or commercial aircraft?
I'll say I'm interested in both, really. But again, like I said before, I'm quite keen on the history as well. And the military side, like it's very interesting.
So given the choice between, as we've got Captain Al, who's just over there, given the choice between Boeing or Airbus, what's best?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I know enough to judge it on that, to be honest. That's why I've come along today, just to probably learn a bit more about the different companies. I mean, I fly a lot, so we go on different holidays and stuff like that, so I've gone with both companies, but yeah, I wouldn't say I know enough to make a fair comment, to be honest.
So you say you fly a lot. Have you had a chance of flying the 380?
Not yet.
No. What's been the best one out of the 777s, Airbus, Boeing 777, Dreamliners?
I mean, the Airbus is pretty good. But like I said, I wouldn't say I know enough to make a fair comment. But yeah.
So before we wrap up, then, I'm just going to ask you a quick question, and it's one of these questions that we always ask people we interview at air shows all across the globe, really. And if you walked outside now and were given a chance to fly any aircraft, albeit commercial, military, civil, whatever, and someone said to you, you can go in there now and fly, what would it be?
I'll probably say unrealistic, but I'd love to go up with the guys, the Red Arrows. Just go up with them.
Yeah, with the Hawks,
with multiple jets up in the sky. That'll be amazing experience.
Red Arrows. That's one we haven't had before on the show. So well done. Well, thanks Harry for your time.
Problem.
Great to speak to you, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Cheers. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, actually, guys, seriously, I'm amazed they haven't done like a two-seater. What is it they fly? It's not the Nat, is it? That's the old one, the Hawk. So they're flying the Hawk. I'm amazed they haven't done like a two-seater version of the Hawk, so that
there is a two-seater.
No, but I mean,
just not the Red Arrows.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I mean. Like the Red Arrows and that, and the opportunity to go. I mean, obviously the paperwork you'd have to fill in, and the risk assessment, and goodness knows what else would just be like insane to go with that. But how cool an opportunity would that be to be sat, say, like in the back seat of said plane while the Red Arrows were doing a display? I mean, how amazing would that be?
So I'm just reading the chat room.
Right,
Nev.
Sorry. What have you done now, Nev?
Oh,
what are you
dear. Doing? Nev's been entertaining the chat room.
Has he? Right.
Yes.
He does that a lot. Yeah.
I know. But no, it was great to speak to Harry. And,
So where did the Harry appear suddenly into our lives?
Well, you see, we were in the Boeing suite at Farnborough.
Yeah. I noticed you couldn't help but get a little Airbus question in there in the Boeing suite. But anyway,
and me and Al were kind of perusing away, and Nev was obviously doing all the tech work. Essentially, and I think Al just kind of said, "Oh, he looks." Interested in aviation.
Right.
Let's nab him. And he sort of came towards us, and his girlfriend kind of
ran away,
walked the other way.
Yes.
I think she saw Al and ran the other way. And
previous form.
Yeah, and we had a good chat with him. But no, it was nice to speak to Harry, and it was obviously great to speak to Mascha, and obviously Pip as well.
Yes.
And next to the high fly A380 that was there on show. Because obviously Nev, you got on board the high fly 380, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we're dead lucky with that. We got a private tour of it as well. We spoke to the flight crew. We got Captain Al in the left-hand seat, as you might have seen in a previous episode as well. So we were very, very fortunate indeed on that occasion. Yeah, so it was brilliant, really good.
So we are going to move on, and we're going to skip a certain segment this week, but it's for good cause, because obviously we have got Paul from the Layovers podcast with us on today's show.
More podcast royalty. We're
more
quite lucky,
podcast
really,
royalty. Yeah. So again, Paul, welcome and thanks for joining us this morning. And tell us a bit about yourself, Paul. What's the background with you?
The background. Oh wow! First of all, I'm having a super cool time with you guys, so I'm loving it. So thank you for having me with you guys today. I'm not used to do podcasts very early on a Sunday. It's actually pretty cool because I have all the time in the world. We usually with Alex, we're like super stressed about our time, which is why we don't record that much. So we first of all we have this podcast. You might have heard about it, guys, listeners. We have a podcast about aviation that's been running since January 2015. We're not very good, as I hinted a minute ago. We're not very good with our scheduling because we travel both a lot. We actually met like that. We met on, I think it was in 2010 in Singapore. During a conference, a friend of ours says you should talk to each other. We didn't talk about aviation because that's what actually links us. We both have a kind of a similar type of background in terms of our proper jobs, which are not in aviation. I'll come to Alex because he is a bit more aviation than me in a second. We were both working with startups. We're both working a lot with marketing, customer experience, loyalty, and we just chatted. And I was back then not living in the UK, and I moved to London about 7 years ago now. And I kind of reached out to Alex because there was this company I was working for as a client, and I needed someone to help me for something. And we started seeing each other quite a lot, and we realized that we both actually talked about airplanes all the freaking time. He has actually an history in aviation because he was a founding member of the founding team of Virgin America. His family is actually also, pretty much everyone seems to be in aviation in his family. I'm the opposite. My father was a doctor, and my mother was a salesperson, and so I have nothing to do with aviation. I was just lucky to be flying quite early. Actually, my first ever flight. I always blame my parents when they were alive for that. My first ever flight was actually in first class, but I was literally 5 months old. And then we flew only, of course, economy the rest of my life. So I was like always, why did you do that when I was like so young and never went later on? Anyway, and we both have, just do our work, we both do travel very extensively, which again explains as well why we're not recording the podcast as much as you guys, but to that later. And since we were always, chatting on, exchanging messages, have you seen that aircraft? What has been your experience there? What the latest tricks, the latest promo to find like a very good deal? What kind of miles run you can do? Anything? At one point I said to Alex, I said, hey, you know what? I was doing another podcast. You know what? Let's just put a microphone in front of us. And by the way, you can see that we don't do video because the microphone takes into my entire face on your live stream because I was able to put in differently because usually we don't care about the image. So let's put a microphone and just talk about that. And you can hear that at the very beginning we had this idea of going into segments and sections and going to we'll talk about startups because we both deal with startups. We'll talk about a bit about technology of aviation. And at the end of the day, it became more banter about what we love, which is mostly the passenger experience. I told you earlier that we both do kind of customer experience and loyalty. So really the passenger experience, what it means to be a passenger, and, sharing our stories. And we're both very lucky that we have positions where our clients, we're both independents. We have our own companies. We're very lucky that we have a lot of our clients paying us usually business class to travel and travel long haul. So we have, of course, we tend to over talk about these because they are more memorable experiences. So we see than flying yet another, a short haul with Lufthansa to Frankfurt in economy, which is always a bit the same. And that's been running for now, since 2015. And it's been quite successful. At the beginning, it was literally, we didn't think that anyone would listen. And now we have way more messages that we can handle. We don't do like you guys live. So it's we record when we can, and then I edit, mix everything up, and I put it up online, and people can listen. And it's been quite, the stats are pretty cool. So it's two guys talking about airliners, because the difference, I think, also for you, because I listen to you guys, we don't talk about military aircrafts. We don't talk about
neither do we this week,
commercial aviation part of the airline industry. And we name each of our episodes with an airport. So that was a kind of a cool idea to say, let's dedicate the last 10, 15, 20, depending on how much we have to say about a specific airport. Usually it's one we've been recently to, so we have a memory. And again, it's opinions, guys. We're not here to make to be scientific about an airport, because some airports are so big, and we might have only one experience in one terminal, and that day we hated it, so we'll actually say it. But so I think besides, we have 79 episodes. I think there's only one or maybe two airports that we have never been to that we covered. One was because of a guest, and the other one was San Martin, the very famous landing on the beach that they have in the Caribbean. It just sounded cool to do it, but we've actually never been to it. All the other airports we've been to. A lot of them in Asia. Alex travels a little bit more in the US because he's half American, half Brit. He has both passports. He actually spends every summer in California and has also more work in the US. I have a little bit myself, I'm mostly in New York. So besides New York, I don't really work in the US. So it balances quite well. And last bit, because people kind of get confused. People, my last name is indeed Papadimitriou. You said it very correctly at the beginning, Carlos. I was actually born in Switzerland, Geneva. So my first language is French. My mother was from Finland, so that's 2 passports. My father Greek, that's 3. So I have these 3 passports. And I also lived in Japan, in Tokyo. That's actually where I started the company I have now, like 12 years ago or something. And then I also lived in the Philippines, in Manila. And I work still quite a lot in the Southeast Asia. I also lived in Cyprus, which is basically the UK with sun and less taxes, and then moved to the UK 7 years ago. When I was a kid, I lived in other countries, but I don't want to be too long. So you were just lucky to travel, and we talk about it.
Fantastic.
There you go. In a nutshell, that was a very long nutshell.
It is. So you've been doing it, did you say, since 2015?
Absolutely. January 2015 was the first one, and we try to do every 2 weeks, but we have very heavy schedule. So we both are on top of our consulting work. We both are also public speakers. So we are hired by companies to do public speaking around the world. And there's basically conference season, if you want, that is always spring and fall. We're right in the fall, which means that I'm literally flying every week, and Alex as well. So sometimes it's just a matter of how can we record. And we put a date and we try to do it, and then I try to edit super fast to actually make it up.
Get out there.
Nowadays, we're pretty good at making every 2 weeks, but there's been times where we recorded every week, and there's times where we haven't been able to record for a month. So we're not very good at that, to be honest. And you've shown the website I've seen on the stream. I'm responsible of the show notes, and I haven't updated them in like 10 episodes. It's really, really bad.
That's all right. That's the trouble. So
that's you getting the excuse in early, Paul.
Yes, you got to admire his style, haven't you? Really.
I'll say we've got some questions from the chat room, haven't we, Nev?
Go ahead.
We have, yes. And Liz Piper from Toronto, Paul, asks you, what's your favourite airport or layover?
Yeah, interesting that she asked layovers because that's our end question. Would you do a layover in X and Y airport? I mean, they're the obvious ones. Hong Kong is a very easy airport to navigate into both. You have different experiences when you are doing a layover than when you are actually, origin or destination. Hong Kong is a fantastic airport. Singapore, fantastic airport. I will say for me, in Europe, my favorite one is Zurich. It's not because I'm Swiss, and trust me, the Swiss French and the Swiss German are always contentious. They will not usually like each other. We talk to English to each other actually, but Zurich is just because it's a very, 25 million passenger a year, so it's like a medium-sized airport if you want, and it's very easy to navigate, super fast. I can do a connection in under 20 minutes and still make the airplane, even though we are living in the UK, which means I have to clear immigration to enter Schengen in Switzerland. So that's for me a very big plus, and it's beautiful, like minimal design. My favorite in the UK is probably Heathrow Terminal 2 because they really learned all the bad things they had done at Terminal 5 and they made it in Terminal 2. And in the world, because I have a soft spot because I used to live there, probably Haneda, because they have a little bit of everything that I like, which is first, it's really cool, easy to get there. It's pretty close to the city. They have a monorail to go there, so it's also pretty. I'm a geek, so I'm a dork. I love that kind of stuff. And then you have an observation deck. I always love airports that offer an observation deck because, and it's really well done. You have even touch screens, and they will tell you what kind of planes are in front of you, which aircraft it is, the liveries of the different aircrafts in front of you. It's really educational as well, really cool, and you can have a drink and eat there. And they have like this fake Edo village, or this fake Japanese village when you can eat sushis and buy souvenirs. It's very well done. The experience is really fun, and both the gates and the lounges all have also views over the aprons, over the parked aircraft, and I kind of like that because I love airports because I can just watch the aircraft. I mean, I really don't like airports when you have to be stuck in a room, windowless rooms, which is usually the U.S. airports. U.S. airports are very like bus stops, like not really endearing. So so Haneda probably my favorite. Zurich in Europe. Yeah.
So let's flip that slightly then. Obviously, you're saying where's your favourite place to stay if you like, when you're sort of within the airport, which is your favourite, on a layover. Out of all the places that you've been to, where is your favourite place to actually, where perhaps you've had a couple of days to do some exploring? Where is your favourite place to sort of hang out when you're not at home?
Well, I will again say Tokyo. It's a cop-out almost because I used to live there, so I have friends. But I've done this year. I've traveled a lot. I've traveled more than 250,000 kilometers already. But I've done this year twice layovers in Japan, in Tokyo, where I had like 9 hours to connect.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's typically the kind of time we say, I arrived very early in the morning. So the first time I arrived very early in the morning, made my way to Tsukiji Market, which is that famous fish market in Tokyo. That is about to close actually. So I also wanted to go for one last time. Ate some sushi like at 7 a.m. Then went for some shopping and then back to the airport. And the second time I had to switch airports. I was in Narita, which is the other airport, which is a bit out of the city, but it's actually also easily reachable because you have a fast train link. And I took the fast train, went to that Tokyo Skytree, which is that huge tower, which is the second biggest tower in the world, but it's not you cannot live in it. It's like a communication tower. I took some pictures, get back down, took a train to do some shopping, met a friend for food and beers and highballs. Highballs are whiskey, soda, basically. And then to Haneda. And all that in 8 hours because in Japan, trains are always on time. They run all the time. You have lockers everywhere. So when you have to carry luggages, you have still lockers that you can use both at airports and train stations. So you go somewhere, you leave your luggage, you're free to do whatever you want. So yeah, I love it. And it's easy for me, of course, easier for me because I've used to live there. I speak a bit Japanese. But that's probably my favorite place. But you know what? I try to do at least 3 different destinations every year. This year I've done, for instance, Jakarta. I mean, it's one of these bustling Southeast Asian cities, which traffic is insane and drives me nuts. But it's always an amazing experience. I love doing these very short. I've heard that you guys, at least 2 of you, maybe the 3 of you, love photography.
Yes.
So my favorite thing is, and that's why I love Asia, because of simply the jet lag. You arrive there and you're basically up at night because you cannot sleep. And I take my camera and I do by myself, and I do photo walks, and I just picture, and a city at night is always amazing. So that's any city would be good for that. I don't think, if you had to ask me a question, is there any city you dislike? And I would have a hard time finding one, to be frankly honest with you.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that actually, Paul, because Liz was asking in the chat room, what's your worst layover, would you say?
Frankfurt.
Well, if you say it quickly, it doesn't hurt. Yeah.
Frankfurt is a toss of a coin, because I've said that in one of the recent shows, and I had a lot of backlash because it's really a toss of the coin. So sometimes it seems to be going super well, and you can actually make a connection. Lufthansa kind of sells you these connections of like 50 minutes, which at Munich are super easy to do, because Munich is it's a square. It's very easy to do if you don't have to transfer terminals, which if you're with Lufthansa, you stay within one. Frankfurt is, and the irony for me is that if you look on their buses, they have a lot of buses. There's this sticker. It says the hub experts. You're like, how are you an hub expert? And every time I'm about to miss a connection, sometimes you're in security, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you have. One time, I had to go within Schengen for 2 minutes, go out of Schengen just to make another gate. I'm like, how does that make sense? Plus, for me, it's easy for us because we have the right passport. We scan it, we enter the gate. But imagine someone who doesn't have either a Schengen visa or has to queue to a normal manned immigration booth. They cannot make that's a stress I hate. The other one that I would say is really bad is Charles de Gaulle. But that depends, Terminal 1, Terminal 2. But Terminal 2, that's the trick, and I've said it recently in one of the episodes. Actually, if you have a European passport or any passport that doesn't require to enter France with a visa, I always tell people, do not try to do a transfer with the buses that run around between the terminals. Actually go out and walk, which actually makes more sense.
Wow.
But it's still a bad, you can feel basically, and that's where I criticize more Frankfurt at Charles de Gaulle. You feel that some airports are made for destination and origin, and some airports are made for layovers. Like Dubai or Doha, clearly they're made for layovers, and they're pretty well done because they thought that from the start. Charles de Gaulle is really an airport that is made for arriving or departing, which experience is not too bad. But when you are layovering, it's like, what am I supposed to do? And I am, and you guys are seasoned travelers, so we'll figure it out. I should just clarify. Parents, they would get lost.
Yeah, I should just clarify that Nev and Carlos are seasoned passengers. If I can stay on the ground, then I prefer to do that if it's all humanly possible.
On that subject, actually, Richard King just asked in the chat room, what's been Paul's worst or scariest flight?
Well, I'm lucky never to have had like a really bad, like an accident or anything. I had one. A landing without the front gear.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was a very long time ago, and maybe I'm just like that in life. But I'm like, what can you do? You are in the aircraft to tell you that you have to take the brakes position, and then they explain you because you have the time to know that the gear wasn't going off, and that we did a lot of holding patterns to dump the fuel, whatever. I mean, it went well. I mean, so was it scary? Yeah, it was anxious because you're like, oh shit, should I need to evacuate? But actually, we landed super well. They had put like this foam thing on the runway to kind of dampen the impact, and the pilot was super good. I was inside, but you could feel that. I think it was he was actually staying flat as long as he could, and when the speed was very low, then actually we went down, and that was perfect. So was that scary? I don't know. I don't know. Otherwise, I'm trying to think. I used to be, I used to be way more scared when I was younger.
Yeah.
As in, there would be like massive turbulences. They were like, holy shit, we're going to crash. And nowadays, I'm like, oh, whatever. And at the end of the day, the thing is, it's maybe again me, but I'm there. There's no way. What can I go do? I'm going to escape or something, So I'm like, oh, okay, they'll figure it out. I think flying is extremely safe. Did you guys have any scary experience? Because
the only one I ever had was we on a way back from I think it was Los Angeles. On the BA 747, we lost a hydraulic system, but you've got sort of 2 or 3 others. I mean, the amount of redundancy on that aircraft's incredible. So we were met by the fire engines at Heathrow just in case, but actually it was a non-event, really. So, apart from the bit of quite a lot of turbulence around the Scandinavian areas when I used to do a lot of flying there. But no, I would say not at all, really.
My only one was the one that gave me essentially the fear of flying that I now have, because I used to do a lot of flying like before, like family holidays and stuff like that, and it was basically one Ryanair flight into Derry where he aborted his takeoff at Stansted and then had to have another go, and then as I say, I had 2 aborted landings into Derry Airport. Which was as a nervous passenger is not the way forward, because I just never enjoyed flying per se. I did it because otherwise the UK gets quite boring very fast. It's just like there's all that kind of thing, and those. But I mean, there was no I think in most cases, because it wasn't particularly windy or anything, I think it's just I was very unlucky. It wasn't a particularly good pilot.
I think I've had 7 go-arounds into.
Wow, that's a lot.
But actually, I don't even consider that as an event. That's just another 20 minutes of flying we can do.
The feeling when you pull up, when you're on final and they have to pull up. I had that in Linate in Milan like a year ago. It's actually like a roller coaster. Like suddenly, whoa, what's going on? It's really, I can enjoy that. Actually, very interestingly, I know we'll probably have, you guys will probably have Alex, and maybe I'll come back. Interestingly, because Alex told the story, and I know it, but since he told the story on our podcast, I can say it. Alex, for all aviation family, for all being founding member of Virgin America, for a long time was afraid of flying.
Wow.
And I had an encounter. He tells the story. I had an encounter with someone in a flight that actually kind of soothes that, and he's also a very much proponent, and I am as well. There are a lot of airlines, so Swiss offers that, and BA has also fear of flying courses. I think they're worth it if you are very anxious. They are very good at doing that. I was recently at Zurich airport waiting for a flight, and at the gate there was like a group of people that got prioritized to enter the flight. That was actually the Bombardier, the CS-100. It was like, why are they going first? I wanted to take pictures, but the plane is empty, God damn it. But actually, they were a group of 15 people doing a course like that. Yeah. And so they had like a 30 minutes headway to get into, and they got an introduction about what was the plane and how it worked. And people applauded. I applauded them at the end. It was just, the 30 minutes flights to Geneva. People applauded them. It's nice, and I think you should do it. And some airlines offer that almost for it. It's very cheap to do, and I think it's worth it.
Well, I mean, because Captain Al, who's a very big friend of the show, he has a little company called Flight Fear Solutions, and he very kindly came over, and we sort of sat down to basically sort of tries to get to the root of what your essentially what your irrational fear is, because it's what it is. And then, as I say, I was very lucky because our diaries couldn't line up, unfortunately, between me and us. So actually, Owen, who does a lot of flying and is cabin crew himself, he very kindly then took me on my taster flight to see how. And again, that was the same thing. So we did a short flight just to Toulouse. Just a little sort of flight over and stuff, and it's. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say here he found it quite interesting, because obviously he's seeing people all day every day as cabin crew. People say they've got a fear of flying and stuff, and he's dealing with that when they're on the aircraft. He said it was quite interesting for him to actually see how that sort of fear materializes as you're working your way through the airport, because obviously he was traveling with me rather than like meeting me on the plane for the first time and things like that. So I mean, it's one of those things. I can seriously highly recommend. I can obviously highly recommend Al for someone to help you with if you are in a bit of it. He's flightfearsolutions.com, I think, isn't he?
Very good friend of the show.
Absolutely. And I'm never ever going to be a lover of flying like you guys all are. I'm never ever going to love it like you do. But I am at least at a point where if I need to go somewhere, all right, I might get a little bit stressed about it or whatever. I may not be the best travelling companion while it's taking place, but I do at least do it now rather than avoid it. I mean, I have driven somewhere rather than flown because I don't want to do it. And so it's nice to be able to just do little flights and stuff like that. So we're going to go back to the chat room.
Yeah, we've got
Armando. You've got
we've got a question from Armando in the chat room, Paul. And he obviously, with all the amount of travelling that you do, sort of 4 million miles a week you do. What has been your favourite advancement in the travel industry, and what would you like to see happen in the near future?
Look, the one, and we mentioned it earlier in the show, the one that for me stays the most important, no matter the discomfort and all the complaints we can have, is the low-cost flying. And now the extension of long-haul low-cost flying, thanks to guys like, obviously, Norwegian, no matter if they're going to get bankrupt or not out of trying this, but I believe, at the end of the day, I want to see more people flying. And having lived in Asia, especially, which is the fastest growing market for flying, for people flying, because, the emergence of, underdeveloped economies going emerging economies, so everybody can start to fly. You see, like, we don't know low-cost flying. There's literally low-cost everywhere in Asia, and they do already fly because of the sheer size of the continent. They already kind of fly like at least mid-long haul if you want. And I love it that it's opening up. Of course, we have complaints about people, running to stop a Ryanair flight on the tarmac. Yeah, fine. And it's going to happen, and it's going to have some people have never traveled in their lives. And I've seen, like, literally, I was in a flight in Central Asia when people were trying to get their chickens in the flight and, stuff like, they've never flown in their lives. I find it mostly endearing. I never want to be, no matter how much I travel, I never want to be that entitled, ass that is like, I don't want kids in business class, and people should know and behave, and I don't want to be George Clooney up in the air, of course I have my techniques, and I try to avoid people with strollers when I pass security because I know it's going to take time. Clearly, fine, but I'm not going to diss them. I'm going to be like, know what, they don't. I love the fact that everybody can fly. For me, that's the most major, because I come from a middle class family. Again, I would think, okay, my father was a doctor, so I'm not saying. But we were doing all our travels with a car. We were literally, drive 16 hours to go to holidays. And nowadays, you can take EasyJet, or you can take Ryanair, or take Wizz Air. You can cross Europe for the price of a cab fare.
Yeah, it's
crazy. I
find
that pretty awesome. And the fact that you can now go to the US, especially the US, because we live in the UK. This is a plain cast UK. Going to the US is still very expensive. So I'm all for Norwegian and others trying to disrupt that market and lower the pricing, because I think that's how the way it should be. As for the second part of the question, the future, I don't believe in supersonic very quickly. I wish. I never had flown the Concorde. I wish I could have flown it once in my life. I never flown it. I wish. I don't think that electrical airliners are also because I think that just the amount of batteries will be just too heavy. So it will be one passenger and 20,000 batteries to fly that. So I think the iteration, and that's what the industry is best for, that's why I love the 350. It's quiet, humidity levels are good. It's the lightning makes it easier for long haul. This is the way for me forward. The one thing that I really appreciate, and we're seeing the kind of beginning of it, is that Gatwick is very good at that. That use of electronic gates for everything. You scan, you enter, you scan, you enter, you scan, you enter everywhere. And I think that also kind of course, it's for cost reasons, clearly, but at the same time kind of makes the entire experience a bit easier. If the airport is well laid out, you just scan, enter, and that's it. And one day we'll probably have like face recognition software that allows us to not even scan, we'll just enter, and we'll have like, cameras retrofitted into like security cameras and being able to scan us all throughout. I know it's big brothery, but at the same time, that bit I almost regret. I remember some of you guys also remember maybe flying pre 9/11. It was actually much easier. And now we have to deal with sometimes really heavy security and etc. So that I'm looking forward that they're trying to simplify the entire process of the airport experience. The aircraft, I don't think they will change. I'm obviously very much looking forward to the 777X. New aircraft, I always love new aircraft, which is why I'm in love with the Bombardier now, the Airbus A220, because I love different aircrafts, but I don't think we're going to see within the next 20 years, because of the duration of the development of a program. We're not going to see suddenly supersonic in the next 10 years. It's going to maybe take like 30 years. So in the next 30 years, I just hope that the experience on the ground is easier, and maybe some regulation for the limitation of seat pitch and width. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, just one other question in the chat room, Paul. Masha is asking, would you consider having a Patreon system for layovers, because she would love to contribute?
That's very kind, actually. We thought there's actually, you know what, there's a lot of people that complain that we're not doing enough of these, and I'm sure you have the same kind of complaints as if we should be recording every single day. This is not our job, you know. I have actually
that's
we
not
both
a problem.
have.
It's not a problem we have, I have to be honest. But
so no, the reason no, I mean I cover the cost and they're not very high. It's very kind. We'd rather actually have simply people interacting with us, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, email, whatever, leaving us iTunes review. For us, it's more, we're really doing it because we're loving it, like you guys are doing. Thank God, you know, nowadays it doesn't cost a lot. Same like low cost, you know, these things are pretty low cost to run. It's a bit of my time to edit, but besides that, so for us, really the appreciation is people getting us feedback, telling us, or challenging us on some of our assumptions about airports or some stuff. It's fine. We had actually that critic that we always seem to be talking about business class because again, these experiences are more memorable.
Yeah.
And then people were saying, yeah, but you never talk about economy. And you were like, yeah, it's true, because, you know, again, we do fly economy, but they're less memorable, but we should, because most people, that's how they fly. So so no Patreon, but we'd like to have more people just interacting with us. We don't have, sadly, a system like you where we do it live, so people cannot go live. But I'm very, thank you so much for being that kind with us. Do you guys do Patreon, by the way? I've never
We
tried.
do, yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, no, we do.
Okay, I'll give you some.
Oh, very much. It's, I mean, and of course, the amazing thing for us, obviously, because, you know, unfortunately, our listeners have been so amazing. I mean, it's, you know, everything that's in this studio here has either been donated by or basically paid for by our amazing listeners, which has given us the opportunity to literally build our own base and sort of do these things. It's just amazing. Actually, I mean, somebody was saying in the chat room here, have you thought about doing little sort of like 5-10 minute videos when you're in these various airports? I'm just trying to. I think it was Chris, wasn't it?
I think it was Chris, like the sort of little mini kind of videos.
So Alex has his own, you probably know about it. Alex has his own travel show called Attaché, which is amazing. He's also won awards, best travel vloggers, I think twice a year from the Travel Awards in the UK or something.
Cool.
Alex, sorry, when you listen to that, I'm not sure exactly of the name of the awards. And
you'll be in trouble for that one.
Are amazing. I mean, these are travel guides, but like very modern travel guides, different take of travel guides. Basically solving a bit what Alex and I both experience, which is very short time in a city. Because usually, when, for instance, we're speaking, next week I'm going to Zurich. Okay, I know Zurich, but I go to Zurich, I go to the hotel, I go to meet the client, I do the speech, I stay a little bit for the event, and then I might have like 5 hours in front of me. Most guides don't tell you what to do in 5 hours. You can kind of figure out yourself a little bit, but they don't. So these attaché videos are like, they cover the basics, the airport, and he's done a few times shorter attaché episodes when it's him at an airport and in an aircraft. I have the footage for at least, I don't know, 1 billion shows on my iPhones and GoPros and Revel and all the cameras that I carry with me, and my Leica as well. And I never have the time to edit something out. I know it would be cool. The only way I document it is on Instagram, you know, these Instagram stories.
Oh, yeah, no, they're really good. Yeah.
So I do that every time I travel. I will take pictures of in videos, in airports, in aircrafts. At first, you know, I was a bit hesitating because it's always like, oh, Paul is showing off that he's done, what was the last one? I don't know, Etihad to Australia in business class. And I'm like, yeah, clearly I'm bragging. At the same time, I like, people seem to be liking it. So I don't want to be that, again, entitled ass that says, oh, look at me, I'm here in business class. But at the same time, such cool things, so cool, features of the seat. I'm like, hey, look at this light, look at how this works. And it's a bit, I don't know, people seem to like it. This is not permanent. Obviously, these stories disappear, although I save some of them. One day I'll do something, I wish, because I know video works very well. The proof is what you guys are doing. But I mean, I look at your setup, and I'm like, holy hell, how you have to interlay videos while we're talking. It's a superb job that first I don't know how to do, and then it will require way more time that actually do.
Paul, to be fair, if anyone can, if I can do it, mate, seriously, anyone can do it. It's
come on, don't undersell yourself.
It's a quick. I'll tell you what, a half-hour chat, you and I, you'd be able to do it in your sleep, mate. I promise you. It's all about knowing what to get, and that's where, as I say, our listeners have been amazing because obviously, you know, they've given us the power to be able to do what we
to do the stuff
now.
we do at the air shows. Obviously,
Yeah,
we visit, try and visit as many air shows as we can.
And then what did
that's
help
so
was
cool.
then we met this crazy guy by the name of Sir Neville of Bounds, and you know, sort of things went sort of downhill from there. Really went, didn't they? I mean, it's just like, you know. But yeah, look, we're going to have to start wrapping up, unfortunately. But
can I just say before we finish though, I was extremely happy a few weeks ago, Paul, to hear that you guys mentioning Lucca Airport in Malta.
Oh dear.
Why?
Because
it's my second home.
He's just obsessed, honestly. It's just like the only way that could have been better is if you'd flown there in a TriStar. That was the only way that isn't going to happen. Perfect. Yeah. But anyway, there we are.
No, but it's been great to have you on the show.
We need to cover that airport actually, so we will at some point. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, we need to do a meet-up at some point. I think that would be good fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But no, it's been absolutely awesome to have you on the show, Paul. And please send our best regards to Alex as well.
Yeah.
And
I shall.
And we'll definitely have you both
on again. If that's all right.
Soon, ASAP.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. It's been
Definitely
great to have you on.
That was awesome, guys. I really loved it. And for once, I enjoyed also just being a simple participant and having to run the thing from the ground. I loved it actually. It's very comfortable.
Yeah, for the first time ever, you could get a word in edgeways. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Yeah.
So that is where we're going to bring the show to a close. We're going to say a massive thanks to everyone who's joined us in the live YouTube chat room this morning.
Yeah.
Everyone in there who's taken time out of their Sunday to join us. I'm sure you've all got Sunday roasts to all go and eat soon
at some point,
today. So a big thanks to all you in the chat room, and also we're not forgetting to say a big thanks to everyone who downloads the show each week via iTunes and Stitcher and Podbean, and there's just lots of different ways.
Actually, one thing we have forgotten to do, Paul, please do give your website a plug. How do they find the Layos? If they're stuck under a stone and they aren't familiar with it, how do they find it?
I think the easiest way is simply to Google Layovers Podcast, and you'll find, again, the website is sadly not really well updated. My fault. But you'll find all the shows. It's there on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, everything. Just Layovers. So any podcast app.
Yeah.
There's no video. It's just audio. Search for Layovers. Otherwise, simply Google Layover Podcast on Google, and you'll find it. And you'll find our names, because mine is impronounceable, as you know. That's also my Twitter handle, so it's impossible to write down correctly. So you just Google it, you'll end up finding me at some point.
You'll find it,
actually know what I do on the side, which we'll do in another episode. But honestly, thank you guys. It was amazing.
Excellent.
Thank you so very much for coming on.
I know it's been good. It's been a damn good discussion today. I feel on the show. Yeah, definitely. So that is where we bring episode number 236 of the show to a close. Don't forget to send us some feedback, audio feedback into the show. Podcast at planetalkinguk.com. Send us in your feedback, and also don't forget to check out the website, and you can buy yourself a P2K t-shirt if you want to. They're still there for sale. Wow. If you want to grab yourself a P2K t-shirt.
Mugs coming very soon, by the way.
Hopefully some mugs coming soon, And take yourselves over there and have a look at the website, and hopefully we'll be back again next week. I am not going to be able to make next Friday, so I don't know. We're going to have to arrange something
Nev,
somewhere.
This is far too a regular occurrence, isn't it? I don't know if
I know.
I'm making notes.
Good. I'm pleased to hear it. Absolutely unavailable.
But
yet again.
we will obviously be posting when we'll be. I expect that the guys will probably do the show either with me or without me at some point next weekend. But keep your eyes on social media. So that's it then, guys. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day. And take care wherever you are in the world. And obviously keep your eyes to the skies, because that's where the best things are.
Absolutely.
So from me, Carlos, it's a huge goodbye.
Everybody say bye-bye.
Bye.